everybody, and thanks for joining us again. We're live. Today is a heavy one, and we're going on a bit of an investigation. I want you to help us come to a logical conclusion by the end of this episode. The investigation being what truly took place at the Pennsylvania rally this past July 13th, 2024. The news wants to look at us and call us crazy and gaslight us by saying, the president fell down and is bleeding. And it wasn't until forced acknowledgement that they had to go, okay, there was an assassination attempt. And I'm throwing the word out there from the start because I want to make one thing very clear about today's episode. For the first time ever, the world paused with a world pandemic. And I made a decision with the Rethink Tank then. And it was, we can either pretend that we're not living this existence and try to walk around algorithms, or just go full speed into the shadow band and acknowledge, call the sky blue, the grass is green. This is how the world is. So that's how the spirit of this episode is going to carry. That means we're backing up. We worked really hard the last year and a half to get out of that shadow ban. And to the chagrin of my cast members here, I'm going to throw us right back into it because I think there's no other way to acknowledge, I think, a rock bed life event like this. We're going to carry this for the rest of our lives. So we've got the full studio today. We've got Silent Destroyer and Ricky from Just Another Day TV in the wing. But this is going to be a little bit different of a style show. When they're looking to join in and they have their 2 cents, we're going to look for them to indicate to Brian and join. But like I said, this is going to be a full investigation type of episode. So real quick, we're just going to introduce the guys in the studio. Can't do without my co-host and my good friend, David Cunningham. David, how you doing?
Doing good. And in preparation for tonight's show, I did secure all the rooftops, did a little double check, got the ladders out there, make sure that there wasn't any mysterious figures up there causing some trouble for us. Good. We're clear. We're clear. Unlike maybe some of the more secretive services we have out here. We're ready to go. And Brian, I'm assuming you got our 6, right?
I actually checked the rooftops and all the walls. No ladders, just ropes. You have to be very tactical to be climbing ropes around here. So be Rizzle my shizzle. You can find me on TikTok. Let's go.
I love it. And there's no better way to kind of start this inquiry other than checking out the event itself. So, Brian, if we could just go into video 1, it's 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Bring in Silent and Ricky as well. As we go through this video, if there's something you guys want to chime in, just start talking. Brian will pause it. But first, let's see the event itself. You're good, Brian.
Look, they're all pointing.
The Atlantic, maybe the Pacific.
Yeah, someone's on top of the roof. Look. There he is right there. Right there, see him?
He's laying down. Pause it real quick. So what I like about this video is it's giving you the multiple directions. You're seeing Trump give his speech perfectly timed up with the bystanders as they are calling out what they're seeing. So this is the about 2.5 minutes leading into the incident itself. You are going to be hearing the crowd members calling for what they're seeing while, for whatever reason, the president continues to speak. So go ahead.
Yeah, he's laying down.
And still I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a senator.
What's happening?
And to make sure we take back the White House, because if we do, we're going to make America better than ever before. We're going to make it.
Yeah, look.
And it's
There
not
he is.
easy because we have millions.
There's literally a crowd forming. Do you see that? There's a crowd forming. They're there for Trump, and yet their attention is totally drawn to this building owned by BlackRock. But we'll get to that. Go ahead, Brian.
People in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people. Criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here. And it's much tougher than if it happens.
Feel how long this is taking, too.
Yeah. And he doesn't look like a. Sorry to pause again. He doesn't look like a normal Secret Service person. Usually, they're all black. They're just regular clothes. If he was wearing all black, he probably gets away with it. Maybe draws a little bit less attention to it. So just to come up there and not even the boldness of how he kind of just waltzes up there.
All right, we're at 53 seconds into this video. Now we'll refrain from talking until the incident. We have seen in shot the man climbing on the roof. Let's see how long it takes until the incident itself occurs.
Recorded history with the best border. In fact, if they could ever put up a chart, I don't know if they can do it. Do you guys have access to that chart that I love so much? You don't mind if I go off teleprompter, do you? Because these teleprompters are so damn boring, I try and explain that. Oh, there's it. Wow. You guys are doing it. They're getting better with time. My guys, take a look at that chart. Take a look at the arrow on the bottom. See the big red arrow, right? So that's when I left office. That was the lowest point, and that comes right from the
Time's still rolling.
Government services, comes right out of Border Patrol. Take a look at that. So that arrow is the lowest amount of illegal immigration ever in recorded history into our country. And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that says,
He had an entire minute.
Right.
A little bit, probably about like a minute and 10 seconds to just sit there, square up, not stopped, some people were pointing at him, whatever, it wasn't stopped. And I think the one, I forget which quadrant it's on there, but you see they have snipers right above, able just to see.
Well, we'll get to the snipers behind Trump. Go ahead, keep going.
I hope he's turning this way. Be careful, guys.
We got breaking news. Coming in. Shots fired. Seems to be shots fired at the Trump rally.
By how many people are just keeping calm?
Yeah, especially behind him too.
In the backboard.
You think you'd hear that just whiz by? That's not a quiet noise.
Or you saw a guy like at the end of the road just drop.
Yeah,
and you'd be like, "Oh, I'll stay here."
Shockingly, like just kind of just stand still, do nothing. That was one part that did weird me a little.
There's
bit.
a lot less screams than you would have thought. Yeah, I don't know. For the people to say those people deserve it,
yeah,
like that's going to be the most disgusting theme of today. Is like I'm looking at this lady who could just not care, but she's tending to a fellow human because she's a fellow human, and for pigs like Destiny to be out here saying they deserve it, and I will make jokes about you tomorrow. Like, know who your enemy is. Go ahead, Brian.
He's up. He's up. Shots are still continuing to be fired. He's giving a thumbs up, everybody. He's giving a thumbs up.
Yeah. Brian, pause real quick. This is something, okay, we're going to get to the vantage points here shortly. This is something that I'm going to want the panel of folks here to help me address or acknowledge. There are multiple press people that, again, like that guy that has the notorious picture in the thumbnail, that's everywhere. That is the picture. I get it. You're looking for your $1 million shot. But at the same time, the president just got hit in the head. You've got way too many non-government agent people that are super close to the president just running around in the pandemonium unmonitored. You like one will have multiple vantage points of the camera folk and how close they were, but then you'll also see like they're unfettered around the whole area. Just a very curious aspect to something that it's like, okay, maybe you didn't lock it down at first due to error, but now it's time to lock it down. And there's a lot of people around running like in this chaos. But again, I understand the swiftness of chaos and things happen before you can really.
And sometimes, and I think sometimes in like the sea of chaos, you're just a fixed point, just staying still. You don't add to the chaos. If you know they're running around, you're just causing more chaos. Just staying still. All right. It looks a little suspicious.
But what if they are a bad guy? Right?
Well,
like, what if they're in on it?
It's possible.
You don't feel any need to like, hey, this isn't one of us. This isn't an agent. Maybe we should be cautious. Like,
now I think most of these probably have like press credentials. That's how you're allowed to get so close. And I think you'd really have to you'd have to like kind of pretty much do an about face,
like a Trojan horse.
Yeah,
deal.
pretty much. And that'd be that's like a 10-year Trojan horse just to finally get to that point to where you're okay. This is my moment. This is my shot, and I'm going to take it. So I don't necessarily think too many of the journalists are going to be out there. It's like, how many of them are? I'm sure some of them are of the left, are Democrats, or for CNN's there, MSNBC's there. Some of them are like that. Like, well, I can probably get a good shot of whatever's going on here, and it probably did. Some of that doesn't necessarily surprise me, except for the guy who's filming himself taking pictures.
Right.
That's an odd.
That's what I'm saying.
That's an odd one.
And so, but I will admit, you gave a strong answer for the guy that reaches for the tinfoil a little quick. I'm satisfied with that response. All right, Brian, let's finish this bad boy out. We got 1 minute left. Again, it takes him another minute to get him out of here.
Yeah, when you put a timer to it, it really does show like how it seems so short when we're watching the breaking news, but in this, it just seems like an eternity.
The comments are going to go, it's because you guys keep talking. Yeah, well, guess what?
Breaking news right now. This is Vanessa Broussard reporting to you live from Butler, Pennsylvania. We hear shots fired at the rally not 10 to 15 minutes after President Trump arrived. He hit the ground. Unheard of yet if he has been hit by gunfire. Secret Service quickly erupted.
You can see the guy there.
The snipers on the building behind the.
I think they hit him because the guy he looks dead.
Okay, so I would like to, before we kind of get into thoughts and opinions, there's one more video I want to watch. Brian, if you go to video 2, this video, there's a common theme, and the theme is going to be I'm done playing delicate about how sick and disgusting I think some of the people have become, or they're really just showing their true colors. They fight under the veil of good. That's the ticket being a Democrat gives you. You don't actually have to be good. It just gives you the good pass. And so you have a lot of cruel, sick people that just get to see, oh, I get to call myself good and I actually don't have to change. I actually get to be racist and get to call other people racist, that type of deal. I only bring that up because how many people have been belittling this as just an ear wound. All he did was catch an ear injury. And so you see on the diagram here on the right, it shows how where his head is originally, he's a dead man and it's over.
Yep.
And first it'll go real quick and it's going to show it twice. The first time through, you're going to see literally how fast it goes from one position to the other. And then the second piece I want you to see is in slow-mo. He literally does it in the last second he possibly could. The one last head tilt that saves his life. And these people diminishing and belittling, this is a dead guy. If not for the grace of God, this is a dead guy. And there's actually no other way to take this conversation and discuss this other than he was assassinated, and we're living in the luckiest timeline ever, because that is what was carried out that day. Brian, press play so these people can see it for what it is.
We see something that said, take a look at what happened. We see something that said,
and dead and
take a look at what happened.
Alive. You see how quick that is? Where his head was.
When it goes, oh, hold on. Do you hear the
Oh, yeah, hear the pop. Go ahead.
Like right before he turns his head?
Take a look what happened.
Head tilt. Pop.
Oh, no. I wonder if he heard it right before and just kind of what?
No, because he's really looking at the screen behind him.
Yeah, he had a graph up, right? He had a graph up. And
right. So he's acknowledging he's talking about the graph, and then he goes to reference it. And it's just, he is referencing it and he's turned around. He just goes to actually look further and it causes it. So hold on, now let's get to some of the comments here. Brian here, let's go to the, these people are supposed to be trained. I cannot wait to get into the Secret Service aspect of this, because that's going to be the deepest quagmire. Can someone needs to explain to me how the Secret Service guy on the roof let the shooter set up shop for over a minute, let him shoot Trump, but then was able to neutralize him in 2 seconds? Okay, David's going to be itching at this point. I want to give the preface answer, and then you could stay for us going into depth with it, with video analysis and everything else. But one of the things you're going to see is the sniper has him lined up. And he actually gets up over the gun. He puts the barrel down just barely and gets up over it. Then you hear pop, 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 and he goes back in, and the guy's neutralized. So the gentleman's name was Jonathan Willis. He is the Secret Service agent that was the sniper that's propped up on the tripod. He was released from the Secret Service and has come out publicly saying that he had the shooter in his crosshairs for over 3 minutes and was told to stand down. And it wasn't until after shots were fired, he took the initiative to retaliate, and he was released from service because he returned fire without order. That's insane. So we'll get to that further. Silent, Ricky, do you have any thoughts about the event itself before we get into a bit? There's 4 vantage points we're going to watch. A couple people in the crowd, the media pass people, but thoughts so far?
I'm just happy the shooter wasn't black. That was the main thing right when it happened. I was just hoping the guy who wasn't black. I swear to you. And after his picture came out, oh shit, sorry, I had the mic wrong. So I was just hoping he wasn't black, and he wasn't. So like I watched it live. Academics was watching the speech, and we was reacting all right then and there. I was like, we all said like, he better not be black.
See, that's a sad symptom of where our society is at, that Ricky has to be worried about some dude all the way out in Pennsylvania. If he just shares a characteristic like me, I'm going to have to carry the sins of that. Kind of like, 9/11, like being an Arabic person, like to have to deal with the sins of, like, it wasn't even me. Like I'm in Nantucket and you're going to make me feel bad. That's sad, but true. It's true. Silent, what are your thoughts? First, Silent, before we go into this deeper, because an element that we're going to kind of address, maybe we could throw it in now. There's a dynamic here, and it's what our experience is here in the States. It's very polarized because literally we have 2 factions. 50% of the country are each living in their own fictional non-reality. And so for us, you have news outlets and information outlets that pander or steer those factions. And so you're never getting anything close to the truth. That being balanced with the international stage that tends to have not always the truth, sometimes some falsehoods, but definitely the outside perspective, that third party perspective that gives a reality we don't naturally have or see. So what was it like kind of experiencing it from the Toronto side of things?
Yeah, the news has been covering it like pretty much every single day. They've been talking about it a lot, but I don't really watch the news, to be honest. I got most of my information about this whole thing from X or Twitter. And that's basically where I've been getting all of my information from, honestly. So I haven't really been keeping an eye much on the news except the day it happened, and that's it. But they definitely were extensively covering it, for sure.
I also got to rub the nose of the hard-blooded Americans in here that a vast majority of today's sharp-hitting, breaking content was brought to you by the anti-American Trojan horse TikTok. So deal with that one. But with kind of silent, given that perspective, Brian, I'd like to hop a little bit out of order. Could you pull up video 18? Yep. This is the Australian news, Sky News, giving a little bit of reality to the international experience and how they look at our news.
Well, the political landscape has changed in America after the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump on Saturday night. And while millions of people in the US and right around the world are still processing the shock and the hurt from what happened yesterday, which was an attack on democracy, Donald Trump appears to be emerging from this stronger than ever. This is a man who just survived an assassination attempt, with a bullet coming within millimeters of going through his brain. Donald Trump said he was going to reschedule the convention after what happened, understandably, but he's decided he couldn't allow a shooter to change the scheduling. Whether you like him or not, there is no question Donald Trump is a brave, strong, and fierce leader. And he's right now giving Americans hope, which is what the country desperately needs. Now, we have heard from President Joe Biden condemning the violence.
The stakes in this election are enormously high.
But it is hard to listen to those words from Joe Biden when just days ago he said it's time to put Trump in a bullseye. He was, of course, speaking metaphorically. But let's look at some of the other messages that he's been pushing time and time again in this election campaign. It includes Donald Trump is a dictator. Donald Trump is a threat to democracy.
And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Trump is a threat to this nation. But Trump is even more dangerous now. We're going to engage them and we're going to stop them.
So listening to Joe Biden today, forgive me if I think it's a little hypocritical. You'd think today, one day after the former president was nearly shot dead, left-wing media outlets would just give it a moment. Sadly, that is not the case. Just look at what the New York Times published about Donald Trump today. It reads, he failed the tests of leadership and betrayed America. Voters must reject him in November. Not a lot of empathy for one of the most influential leaders in history who was almost shot dead. I tell you what, we need truth tellers more than ever right now, and it doesn't look like you're going to find them at CNN or the New York Times. Tomorrow, when Donald Trump takes to the stage at the Republican National Convention, I suspect we're going to see a lot of support and a lot of love.
Admittedly, this was the clip the day after. There was another clip that was even more poignant. And she goes, CNN reported this as Donald Trump falls and rises with bloody ear. And she goes, let's be very clear. The only president that's falling on his own volition is Joe Biden. And that's the dynamic we're dealing with, because they're trying to there is, Doug, season us with the piece you were talking about Reagan and how like this strengthened or what was the presidential candidate that
I've seen on the news tonight, there's some like where the RNC is, like a hotel that stands on its current place is the hotel where Teddy Roosevelt was shot during his bid for the third presidential term. And he finished his speech and ended it with, it takes more than a bullet to kill this bull moose. And that's where like the Bull Moose Party got their name and all that. But like, it boosted people like were for him. He didn't win that election, but like, people were like, oh, look at Teddy. Like he survived a bullet and kept talking. And then, other people are like trying to say it's like Reagan. Reagan survived an assassination attempt and it boosted him to the presidential win. And
so again, now he's going to be carrying a strong momentum. I mean, I wholeheartedly for the last 3 months on this show has been saying I'm voting for nobody but RFK Jr. And within the day, it would like within the moment, it's like, oh, well, I know my president now. So they only made him stronger, or this incident only made him stronger. And as a result, you're watching the lying mechanism have to work harder to counteract that momentum. And to me, it feels like it's only hurting them.
So you bring up the CNN broadcast. That was the broadcast that I was watching throughout the entirety of this whole unraveling situation. So when we saw it, I think initially said, yeah, like he had like bloody ear, fell down. And then it was like loud bang. And you see the video, and obviously he doesn't look like he's seriously injured at all. So, and I'm at the time we're at a bar, and I don't hear, like, I'm not hearing the actual commentating going on. So it's like, okay. I didn't really think too much of it. Look at my phone, then I just see all the memes, some of the pictures that are a little more, because the CNN video the broadcast doesn't do a good job of actually showing like the blood in his face and kind of a little more of the carnage that happened. But when you see like the real clear pictures, you see the real iconic him throwing his fist up in the air. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's something actually happened. It wasn't till about, 8:30, about 8:45 did CNN actually call it a shooting. Versus
when they had to.
And I don't think even on that broadcast when we were watching that night, I don't think they said assassination attempt at all, at least on the Chiron. Now, I will say, here's in defense of kind of that breaking news style, you don't want to be too sensationalist. You want to at least let the story play itself out a little bit. Hey, loud bangs. Okay, we don't know the loud bangs. Even if you're like on there, it's like, let's confirm it. Let's get our facts straight before we start throwing things out there. Obviously,
But the blood didn't indicate anything?
Well, the blood might have been...
Was it a fall that caused his ear to bleed?
Well, he did fall down. He did go down to the ground a little bit. But I think a responsible news will kind of let that play out a little bit. If your major news sources are probably the last ones to say it, usually, just like how like the AP is usually the last one to call an election, and okay, now we know the election's true. I think in some ways it's fair. Now, when you keep going in, you dig more in the story, and now you refuse to either say assassination or you refuse to continue to elaborate what's going on. I think that's when we start running. I think this is where we start to both agree, it's just not maybe what the news should be in this regard.
That's fair. You definitely have a responsibility, and with great power comes great responsibility, and you have to be cautious with that. But we've talked a lot about Trump. Maybe this is a good opportunity to introduce the 20-year-old schizo that carried out this situation. So with that being said, I know this complicates things for you, Brian, but if you could go to video 22, this is introducing Thomas Matthew Crooks, the shooter.
My name is...
Oh. You could play it. Bring in Ricky too. This is a lot more of a delicate version of the guy.
I hate Trump. And guess what? You got the wrong guy.
Oh my God.
Not too intimidating, not too bad, but go ahead, play it again, because we were kind of...
My name is Thomas Matthew Crooks. I hate Republicans. I hate Trump. And guess what? You got the wrong guy.
Crazy, but first takeaway, does that sound like a Republican voter? If that might sound like a Republican voter to you because you're just a tad bit retarded, let me force the nail in totally. Let's lobotomize you fully. Let me go to video 23 now here, Brian. You tell me, does this sound like a Republican voter? That sounds like a healthy cat.
Yeah, he looks like he's terminally online too, which is the first thing I noticed. Like, oh yeah, that guy's probably a Redditor.
Apparently, reading about him, he was brilliant with computers. He could disassemble and reassemble computers with ease. That was his.
Was that a college campus?
What?
Was that a college campus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of looked like it. Yeah.
I don't know. Does Ricky and Silent have any thoughts? Go ahead.
Nope.
Just click it. No?
Yeah, he's definitely not a Republican. Definitely not.
Yeah,
Like,
but what's crazy is
confirmed
he's reported as a Republican voter.
with stacks of proof. There's obviously a lot of proof that he's not a Republican, you know?
Yep. And you can tell
Unless
that
he's
been
one of
planning.
those people that says he's not a Republican publicly and says fuck the Republicans and
We got a lot of those.
and stuff. And then in private, he actually is a Republican.
That could be
You know?
it.
That
What-
could
what
be
is
it.
funny?
That could be it.
We've gotten this far, and according to the FBI, after conducting more than 100 interviews, searching the suspect's home and vehicle, and cracking into his cell phone, which they said they weren't able to get their hands on, FBI investigators were still searching through Tuesday till this moment for a motive that led the 20-year-old Pennsylvania man to attempt to assassinate the former president. Quote from the FBI, over the last several months, Crooks received several packages, including some marked as possibly containing hazardous material, according to a review of his shipping history. But then they conclude the report by admitting, at present, we have not identified an ideology associated with the subject. Fascinating.
It's this is one of the very few kind of public shooters we've seen that hasn't randomly released a manifesto, at least yet. We haven't seen it. There's no, and by most accounts, he really hasn't had an online presence. There's no like regular Facebook. There's no Instagram. There's not even a TikTok of him throwing things out there. He's been fairly, at least as far as he's, I don't want to say but just some rural kid in, Pennsylvania. So it's interesting now. So there's why we'll get into this a little bit later when we start talking some of our theories here. But it seems to me this kid just isn't well off in the head, and I don't even think that's very controversial to say at all. That's not this isn't normal behavior for people, even just to some of those videos too. It's just not. He's got some of those social tics. It's just he hasn't really been around people too much.
And you could take it on face value. Clearly, that's the fair assumption. But Brian, if you could go to video 24, here is a student that went to grade school with Thomas Matthew Crooks. By the way, real quick before you click it,
bullied almost.
Why do all of these crazy assassinators have to have three names? John Wilkes Booth, Thomas Matthew Crooks. It's like, why is that indicative?
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Lee Harvey Oswald. The second you make us say your middle name, we should just be like, take him out. Take him out before he has thoughts. But yeah, if you could go to this video here, this is an account from a fellow student.
He was bullied almost every day.
In what way? Can you explain?
I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're gonna see someone like that and they're gonna target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it. And it's honestly kind of sad. Like, I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
And you said he was a loner?
Yeah. I want to say he was a loner more because he was quiet, but like he was just bullied. Like he was bullied so much.
This is high school.
Yeah.
What did they, do you remember at all what they said to him or called him?
No. He was just made fun of, I guess, for the way he dressed or his appearance.
So that's an interesting element from his past, from his grade school experience. But something that's even more peculiar, and I'd love an explanation for, but you are always going to continue to say is just another coincidence. I just ask you how many coincidences until they're mathematically impossible to be categorized as a coincidence. Brian, if you could go then to video 25, how convenient is it that Mr. Thomas Matthew Crooks was the star in a BlackRock commercial? Hosted at his school.
Lalo. I teach AP and honors economics in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Financial well-being to me is knowing that I can be free to do the things that I love to do.
You're going to have to pause coming up here.
I hope when I retire someday, they say that guy made this place a special place to come to school.
There he is. Go back real quick. That's him.
Right, that's him. Yep.
Okay, so he's not even just the background guy that also looks like a skeevy cigarette smoker from your high school. It's the dude right in front, like center frame. It's the main cat. So again, you're going to continue to chalk it up to coincidence. I'm going to let you have this one. But I just want to double down on the fact that the building he was on. Here, Brian, can you go to picture A? We're going to go back and forth with this one a lot, but picture A is the map. So if we take a look here, this goes to show where the stage was in relationship to where the shooter was. And there's something very important to note from this picture. And this is going to start developing our tinfoil, the hat that we place on our head. Okay, if you notice, to the right of the building, in the big green field there's a collection of trees, and just before it is a water tower. The water tower is a quiet element that people refrain from acknowledging and talking about. I point this out to you now, so as you follow through the next week, I want you to look for it. Watch for Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, New York Times, your priority news outlets. Notice how all of their images are covering the water tower. They'll have an icon, a logo, a second graphic. They almost always have the water tower covered. And that's because as we go, we're going to go through like the good movie Vantage Point. If any of you have ever seen it, great movie. And it tells a story through the different vantage points of each character in the film. And you get a little bit more of the story each time. So when we get to the different vantage points or the experiences within the crowd, these are the types of things I want you to pick up on. Notice the people in the crowd yelling about a second shooter, about a second perpetrator, the attention being drawn into different locations, and that water tower being twice as tall as the building. So I'm just saying, if you're trying to find a vantage point to, I don't know, carry out an act like this, are you going to go to a 2-story factory building, or are you going to go to the 4-story watershed? So I bring that up because we talked about the BlackRock commercial. Taking a look at the map, Brian, if you could bring that back. Taking a look at the map, there is the factory buildings that the known shooter was on. That factory building for the day was the host headquarters for the police on scene. So this is the main hive of the police force of the day, and yet he was able to climb on top of it unbeknownst to anybody. Brian, I don't want to get too off track here.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to. We're gonna take a minute here, and I'll find it for us, because there is a perfect picture of just a ladder laying there. There's a ladder leaned up against the unattended building, and it's just sitting there. How convenient! Aerial shot of the ladder. Now, I also want to point out. Now this goes back to Brian's question in the comments. How do you have it is protocol for the Secret Service to be on every roof, and they should be there should be no vantage point that is not secured and locked down. It's convenient that these factories are corporate on its day-to-day outside of this event owned by BlackRock. We can't give that too much weight because they are the highest real estate or what is it? Investment owning capital owning investment group in the world. So it isn't so much cause and effect. This can be a coincidence just because they own everything. Yeah. But for this kid to be front and center in this commercial in Pennsylvania, and for him to have no social media, no background, no footprint, but yet he's hyper obsessed over these issues and totally plugged into the meme world, but we have no seeing of his past. And for him to access all of this is just convenient, just another coincidence. I don't know, what are your thoughts?
It is a little too convenient. Though the water tower thing is still pretty puzzling. Especially, let's just go. Most people want to do their jobs with the least amount of resistance. So if we go, okay, well, what's the tallest point here that could see this vantage point? Water tower. So let's cover the water tower. Make sure, you can have someone up there. And none of the videos that I've seen, or the reporting I've seen, has stated that there was anyone at the water tower, let alone good or bad, shooter, non-shooter. So it's curious how you take a look at that and you see some like the 3D vantage points and you show, well, that just seems pretty obvious. Even on like a ground level there, you're looking at it and you go, well, okay, yeah, someone should be up there. Usually that's one of the bigger telltale signs. Like, well, elevation's usually is harder to get to. So, and I could at least attest to a little bit with that, the slope of the roof. And maybe the way they were initially kind of looking at it from that angle, you could see how someone could probably sneak up a little bit. Now, he's not wearing, I mean, the roof's white and he's wearing everything but white. He's not all white. He's not even trying to camouflage himself. He's just jeans, t-shirt, just going at it. So it's a little curious.
What do you make of this picture? Brian, pull up this picture. I want David's opinion on it. This is the one I was discussing. Brian was able to get it for us. Explain this ladder to me. Explain what's going on.
Well, when you have a bunch of industrial buildings around the area, it's not shocking there's a ladder now near the area.
Whoa. What industry, what regular form of business is the industry carrying on the flat roof? It's not like there's even an AC unit there to tend to.
Well, sometimes you need a ladder to get around. Because those buildings could have a ladder in there. Light bulbs, such. There's more than one use for a ladder. So I think it's being a little facetious to say, well, why would a building need a ladder? Well, there's a lot of reasons.
Not why would a building need a ladder. Why would the ladder be conveniently set up and totally unattended? Dude, we're in a shopping center that I've grown up for the last 20 years tending to. My uncle's left plenty of ladders around, sure, with intention. It's like, okay, but I will be back to change the light bulb. I got to go get the bulb. There's no ladders that are just lingering at an industrial business because you have liability you got to worry about.
Well, there's one thing. So you see that big tree shrub there?
Conveniently camouflaging it.
Conveniently camouflaging. So if I'm in preparation of an event here and I need to obscure a ladder, that's probably a pretty good spot to have. I bet if you were to zoom out and see, that's probably the only tree in the only area, and someone, I could see it. So we're going to notice a theme of incompetence. This is probably just one of those extra small details they didn't really cover. Like the water tower, didn't cover the water tower. Well, did we look at all the spots? Now, he could have put it. Now, when we saw the video, he was kind of shimmying himself up there.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's within a reasonable doubt, or it's within reason that he could haul up a ladder up there, do that all within a regular time frame. And this might have just, I don't know when this picture necessarily was taken. If it was the day of, makes sense. Day before, okay, maybe someone should have seen that. Week before, okay, yeah, someone maybe should have really thought about this.
So where do you want to take this? Should we take the dialogue to the different vantage points, or should we first parse apart the incompetence that we had experienced with the Secret Service?
Let's go with the vantage points, because I think another interesting tidbit about this particular one is how close he was able to get a shot to the former president-elect. Well, not president-elect. Yeah, that's going to happen this week. But to the former president. So this was roughly about 410 feet is what I'm seeing. And that's roughly 137 yards. So about a football field and then some. That sounds, it sounds far away, but when you're in that position, it's very close. So to miss, I do see a lot of within the gun community. Oh, that's an easy shot.
Yeah, I keep hearing that.
I wouldn't call that necessarily an easy shot. I did see a picture of the rifle he did use, but I can't seem to find that anymore. It's a real interesting, anyway.
My uncle takes offense to leaving ladders around.
Or maybe do you call him out about leaving ladders around?
No, I said he leaves them out with intention. This seems to have no intention beyond killing the president.
Well, some intention. But anyway. But this shot, so when I saw the picture of the supposed rifle, he was using iron sights, and I think 137 yards. That's a pretty long shot for just using like straight iron sights. Now he is prone. He's supported. He's got everything he kind of needs. I don't think this particular person was really all that prepared. And I bet you, so with like rifles and such, this you need to dial in your specific rifle to your specific sights. I don't think he did this. So I think if you're looking right at the moment, he's not really crosshairs, but he's got everything dialed up right to Trump's head, or probably center mass. I bet he's aiming center mass, and then he's just that far off. And these things he's not using a expensive rifle. He's using like a couple $100 AR. That's garbage tier rifle to be using this. You'd think to add a bit more feathers to your cap here, if you were going to do something like this, the life expectancy of a assassinator is not very high. I would call it hours, maybe minutes.
Wait, did you say assassinator?
Assassinator.
I don't know if that's a word.
It's not a word.
I believe it would just be
assassin.
Anyway, so the life expectancy of a presidential assassin isn't very high. So you're thinking you go all the stops. This is what you plan on doing, because this isn't just a whim. You don't do these things on a whim. Like, well, you know what? He's here. I might as well. It's just too convenient not to. That doesn't seem to be the mindset of a lot of these individuals that do this. So he wasn't trained. He didn't practice. He just had this ego about him. He's able to, okay, I can make that shot. That's easy. That's not an easy shot.
That's one way to present the narrative.
Yeah.
I think personally, you had, a mentally unwell human that, as the government does, they capitalize on opportunities and they coerce or push or entrap somebody that was easily dumb and manipulatable. And, this will not be the last time I say it in this episode, because I need it to be internalized. But if Trump is responsible for the FBI theater play called January 6th, then Biden is certainly responsible for the incitement we experienced this past weekend. And so your logic either needs to be consistent or liberating. You cannot have them be mutually exclusive, or they are it's one of them.
Can't have a cake and eat it too.
Thank you. So I got a couple different views. I don't know if we want to run through all of them, but we've got somebody from the front row, we've got somebody from beside the stage, and then somebody from high up in the bleachers. So let's go with just video 4 is going to be the front row experience. Well, you could play and then bring them in.
All right.
The agents around him do not look very direct. Like they're
not moving with that much urgency, or at least
or intention. They're not moving with intention.
Yeah. Like the gunman's walking up in full body armor, like the SWAT team looking guys. They're like gingerly walking
That's
up,
what I mean.
looking around. They just seem like they just were lost. Like they didn't know what to do. It's like, really, don't you train for this?
Right.
Here, let's hey.
I'm pretty sure it did.
Covering the perimeter.
Here's what I love. When he comes up, Ryan, you don't have to pause it. When he comes up, the place goes crazy.
Who did this? They got him.
Camera operators. There we go.
Watch the crowd. Listen to this lady. we don't have to watch this entire one. I just love
Yo,
when he's like,
yo.
I will vote for you. Like,
Yo, there's nothing more American than get that motherfucker, get that motherfucker. Like that is America right there. Like, it don't get better than that.
yeah. All right. Of the Vantage Point ones, there's two that I really want to get to. One that's worth just investigating, but I think David kind of had a strong acknowledgement of it. We could go to number 5. This is beside the stage from the press perspective, and it's telling as well.
Oh yeah.
Look how close he is to the stage. And again, there's people in front of him close to the stage.
He's using like a fisheye lens too, so it makes it even look like
And you're gonna let a guy get that close to the shot president? I mean, he's moving around totally unfettered.
Yeah, but those people aren't the ones that were.
Why?
They probably got plans to get there with troops. It's the people that like didn't get troops outside of the window. I do.
Man.
Yeah,
I
they're
can
not
turn
even.
you have technology that turns pens into guns, but we're not worried about, a camera being something we misjudged. I just think it's crazy how close this guy is and just rotates and moves around with no problem.
Yeah, and even like you see like the Secret Service members, the ones with the actual rifles, they're not like, hey, no, get out of the way.
Exactly.
He's facing the other direction from it, which
Totally ignoring it.
I find that a little odd.
Yeah, but who wants to be the guy on the national news pointing a gun at a news person?
Do you point your finger or your gun?
Yeah, it's not pointing a gun.
Can't you just say, you get
have
away?
it here and just like, move.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Or
do
just,
not
push,
need
like,
to point a barrel.
Hey, give him space. You can be assertive without being threatening.
Bingo.
At the same time. So it's interesting. Doesn't even acknowledge it. They don't even look at him. He's looking. I maybe that's standard protocol, but it doesn't look like it.
Well, I'm gonna, of the tinfoil hat videos I have a couple of them.
Okay.
This one, I want you to make sense of it then for me. This is a perfect balance to, okay, the press credentials guy doesn't seem like he was up to no good. It was pretty safe, not a big deal. Now it's on the other side of the stage. Someone in the front row is filming, and it's a guy speaking about this vantage point. And he points out something fascinating about the Secret Service agent that I think adds a little bit more dynamic to this inquiry we're parsing apart here.
All right.
So, Brian, if you could go to, I think it's video 11. Yes, video 11.
So there's some buzz circulating around the internet that the Trump assassination was an inside job, and they're saying this video proves it. Look at this. Now this guy right here is a Secret Service agent, I imagine. He looks the part. He is coming over, and it looks like he's getting out of where a shot's about to come from. And he tells these people, hey, you might move over this way.
And that's a little bit old.
And he's staying kind of crouched down, like he's expecting a shot to happen.
Take a look what happened.
Oh, then a shot happens, and he didn't run to protect the president. He stayed ducked down.
I will say,
and I thought he's supposed to run and protect the president, but this guy is crouched down right there.
Pause. Look at this, okay? So the whole commotion's going on over there, and the Secret Service agent, whose job is to take the bullet, is hiding in the corner. So first, he approaches those folks crouched down. Then he corrals them away out of the backboard or backstop of where the shots are coming. And then after they are shot, instead of intervening into the protection his duty calls for, he goes and cowers behind a speaker. And he spends the rest of this video hiding back there. I don't know. What are your thoughts, Ricky?
so I think he didn't know it was coming because that fib factor that happens when you first hear a shot, that jump that he had, I don't think he knew it was coming. And everybody on the Secret Service team have a job. if he leaves the barrier, someone can just jump over. So he has to stay there. He maybe should stand up and be a man, be a Secret Service agent. But they can't all just go to the president. Everybody has their role,
That's a strong response.
Yeah,
Are you satisfied?
Well, no, we're assuming he's Secret Service. We're assuming based on that
Man in suit with sunglasses.
I don't think it's it's probably reasonable to expect there's probably some people with suits and sunglasses that aren't part of the Secret Service. So let's assume he is. Let's just say he is. Why we don't know what he told the people to say to usher out. Were they there's like plainclothes cops and they're out there. Are those other plainclothes? We don't know we don't exactly know the speech, the full. We never got to hear the full end of the speech. So maybe, hey, we'll take them out. They're maybe audience plants. There's all sorts of different reasons they could be. And hey, we're at this part of the speech. Let's move on. Let's get to this other space. I'm not 100% sure. So again, speculating.
So let me ask you this then. Ricky is, but are you satisfied with the actions taken by the gentleman? Like
that
nothing peculiar about that, or
that particular gentleman? You're assuming he's Secret Service. I'm not. I don't.
No, I'm saying a gentleman. That gentleman's interaction at that period didn't seem weird. He's crouched. He then corrals the nice people close to him away from where the backs of the shots would be, and then I hear Ricky. If he knew it was coming, it wouldn't have startled him. I don't necessarily agree with that point, because if you know it's coming is one thing, but then the pop is still going to surprise you. Like that's still going to be allowed. Like, oh, here it is. Like you ever shoot a firework off and it's like I lit the fuse, but we're sitting here for a minute when it finally you're like, whoa.
Or you pop champagne. Now it's coming. You're actively trying to get it out, and all of a sudden, oh no, yeah. So I don't even when you've been around guns, it's always that first shot. It's like, oh, you just start. You're not. That's not something you're used to.
Did you see the European soccer game this weekend where they had it delayed hours because they had people going in through the air ducts through this? It was just totally bombarded. I think Ricky's point has strength in that if you're responsive, everybody's got their role. And if your role is to secure this fence in pandemonium and chaos, the last thing we need is a bum rush to the president.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. I still don't think you're preventing a bum rush and securing the border with your back to the fence and the coward, and then when they come over the fence, you're just like, oh, I still don't think you're stopping anything.
If that was his job, he wasn't doing a very good job at it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
He's maybe he's looking underneath the bleachers. All right. Well, there's no one here. There's probably several different explanations to it that we're maybe not privy to. And again, we are taking the bold assumption he is Secret Service because he's a man in a suit wearing sunglasses. Because if that's all it took to just assume you're Secret Service, I might just do that everywhere I go. I get access to Trump anytime. Hey, Secret Service. I'm right here. I'm the edge guy. I'm making sure this speaker's all right. It didn't. Speakers. And again, we don't know what he said to the people. It could just be, hey, I didn't go to the bathroom, or you guys want to move out. I don't know. And I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that particular vantage point would have actually been within the line of fire. It was there. So the guy with the phone definitely. But again, he's phone. He's a little taller up. As you know, that those bleachers are pretty steep and they kind of go down. So when you're down at that ground level, I don't actually think you're within that. He's really got to be aiming down to really get to you.
Right.
Now, again, let me give a little credence to your tinfoil hat here. Yeah, if I know this is going on and I'm within, all right, these are my boys. I need you out of here. All right, it's
I don't even think it's their boys. These are people I can move. Yeah. If we knew they knew about it for at least 3 minutes, and it's all right, we're still trying to secure the board. All right, something's going on. I could see him moving people. Not that oh, it's some staged plan and I know what to. Ricky, what were you gonna say?
The president's travel a lot of staff too that wear suits. So maybe it's a staffer or something. You know what I mean?
Traveling secretary.
Right.
Yeah.
I got one last vantage point where there's more, but one that I definitely want to address. Before we get to the video, I want to know if anybody else experienced this or noticed this as well. In the crowd, okay, so I'm trying to put myself in those shoes. If I'm sitting in a crowd and shots go off, the president just got hit, whatever. What is your instinct? Because mine is either hit the deck if I have the ability to get cover in some way, maybe under bleachers or something, but also to like run. Like I'm not going to just hang out and be like, what's going on? Like I'm going to like try to preserve my existence in some way, try to fight or flight, right? What's interesting is the number of people that like either totally don't react or just stay totally still and complacent. They're just like, And the one that really flipped, like, and I got the answer for us, but did anybody notice the amount of people that started turning around and like screaming and yelling and F you, and you're like, what? Like, to me, that was the most confusing piece. Like, if I was under fire or in a situation where I saw somebody just get shot, I'm not like this and then getting up and going, well, fuck yeah! Like, I'm running and hiding or not like, bah! So what compels somebody to do that? It breaks what I think is the instinct of human nature until I saw this video. Brian, if you could then go to video 6, this is the crowd, and notice what they're being triggered by. So, yeah, real quick, start it back over to that last second. The perfect is this guy right in front. He literally does a 180, and then watch the people around him do the same. Like, what are they cursing at? It's the whole media stand. They just turn around to all the media.
Yeah.
You did this!
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense now.
It does.
Yep.
And they did do this.
Nope. Yeah, that's a
that guy pointing. You know what you did.
This is your fault. They're quick to put 2 and 2 together too. Like, this is within moments of happening. Yep.
It's over here.
Interesting.
And they're passionate. I love these people.
Yeah,
of all the Americans here, these are my favorite. Under fire, and they just turn to the media. You!
How could you?
Look at he's got his hand on his hip. Gosh darn it, you bastard. Fire fell out of them real quick. They were passionate for about a minute.
Like,
so what are we doing? Just hanging out here? I mean, gosh.
I mean, there's only so many times you can just flip someone off until it really the diminishing returns is pretty exponential after that point. So it's like, well, all right, I guess that's all I got to say. I don't think they had too much to add after that. It was, well, I'd said my piece. Here we go. You know, what else are you going to do? You're just going to continue to say the same thing over and over? You sound like a broken record.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. What else are you going to do?
What are they, the media?
Yeah. All right. I think before we really go down further in the crazy world, first, I have 3 interviews, and then we'll get to the Secret Service. Okay? So there's the most famous and most common interview, and it's the one that came first and was the most publicized. It's from the red-haired guy in a MAGA hat, and he's got some interesting insight on his experience.
And listen to the rally, right? We couldn't see him, but we could hear him. So we walked up, and probably 5 to 7 minutes of Trump speaking. I'm estimating here. I have no idea, you know. But we noticed a guy crawling, bear crawling up the roof of the building beside us, 50 feet away from us. So we're standing there, you know, we're pointing at the guy crawling up the roof.
And he had a gun, right?
He had a rifle.
A rifle.
We could clearly see him with a rifle. Absolutely. We're pointing at him. The police are down there running around on the ground. We're like, hey, man, there's a guy on the roof with a rifle. And the police were like, huh, what? You know, like they didn't know what was going on. You know, we're like, hey, right here on the roof. We can see him from right here. We see him. You know, he's crawling. And Next thing you know, I'm thinking to myself, why is Trump still speaking? Why have they not pulled him off the stage? I'm standing there pointing at him for 2-3 minutes. Secret Service is looking at us from the top of the barn. I'm pointing at that roof, just standing there like this. And next thing you know, 5 shots ring out.
So you're certain that the shots came from that guy on the roof?
100%. 100%.
And he was up there for a couple of minutes.
He was up there.
You saw him up there for a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. At least 3 to 4 minutes.
And you were telling police and the Secret Service?
We were telling the police. We were pointing at him for the Secret Service, who were looking at us from the top of the barn. They were looking at us the whole time when we were standing by that tree.
Could they see
binoculars?
Could they see him?
Probably not.
He's got a beer in hand.
The way the slope went.
And
behind
I
where
don't know if
they
the
could
visor
see.
was probably the
But-
best choice
but why
for
is there not Secret Service
real
on all
prominent
of these
interview.
roofs here? I mean, this is not a big place.
Did you see, I mean, obviously everyone, when the shooting started, everyone was very panicked. Did you see what happened to him at all?
Oh, yeah, they blew his head off.
Okay, sorry.
Secret Service blew his head off.
Okay, we just be careful because we don't know quite know who's watching, but you're pretty sure they shot the guy.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
You saw that happen?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you see them go up to him afterwards, or?
They crawled up on the roof. They had their guns pointed at him, make sure he was dead. He was dead, and that was it. It was over.
Oh my God, dude! Well, I mean, and so that's kind of what started the gears of curiosity with the public. And you're seeing this event more than anything, more than 9/11, more than J6, more than anything. This event has really flipped the minds of Americans and shown the true colors of the people around us. One more interview that I think would be valuable, at least, is video 9. It's another perspective where he straight up saw the guy moving.
I was up at the fence line, saw the guy move from roof to roof, told an officer that he was on the roof. The officer come looking, I went back to where I was standing. Heard that there was somebody that could see the person, so I went back to where they were standing, saw the person, went back and told the officer again that if he goes back to that particular spot, he can see the person, figuring that he would go in radio. And when I turned around to go back to where I was is when the gunshots started, and then it was just chaos, and we all came running away, and that was that.
Let me get this right. So you actually saw the man on top of the roof behind us?
Yes.
And you're saying people reported that to law enforcement, saying there is a man on the roof of the building?
Yes, there were two officers that were actively searching. You could tell they were searching and looking for somebody, and we just tried to help and tell them where the guy was. And at some point, somebody obviously found him, or the snipers found him, and I just seen him going from one building to another. There was a little gap in between, and he went. And when I went back to see the people that I heard that could see him, seen a quick look at him there, and then went to the officer to tell the officer, and that was all that I got.
How many gunshots did you hear?
I have no idea. It was, at first I didn't know what I heard, and then once it became clear what I heard, that it was just getting out of there, and I helped a lady that had a 4-year-old kid, helped them get out, and that was it. We were done. And
here, Brian, we could pull this video. I mean, here's what's interesting. One of the most heavily relied upon pieces of evidence in a court of law, video and human testimony, but also the most acknowledged flawed piece of evidence that we can have. I've been thinking about it. The news have had a hard time even reporting on the number of shots because everybody's got a different number from the experience, which again, if you were experiencing something, if I told you, hey, I'm going to show you a series of pictures, try to remember it, then I'm going to quiz you about it, you're going to do better than if I just showed you a piece of paper, flipped it away and go, how many, red circles are on there? You're going to be like, well, I wasn't even looking at the red circles. Like when you don't know that you need to be counting gunshots, you really aren't going to be very accurate. One, I'm only saying this to show how flawed the human experience is and how unreliable it can be. But then also it's like, that's all we have. And so we're trying to put together mismanaged pieces through the human experience. The most valuable interview I find, and this is going to send me on a tiny little diatribe, is going to be, if you could go to video 10. This is a gentleman comparing his experience at this rally compared to his last rally when Trump was here in Pennsylvania the last time.
Listen to this.
Another guest. His name is Robert Philpott. He's from this community, from Butler. Robert, come here and talk to us, if you will. You can come a little closer. Sure. You stopped us here. We're here doing our show, and you stopped us, and you wanted to talk to me, and you wanted to tell me something. We just heard the mayor there of Slippery Rock talk about the other Butler rally that he had been to. You were talking to me about that rally as well. Tell me the message you wanted me to understand, because there was something different about that rally versus this rally that you noticed.
Yeah, my daughter and I went, I guess it was 4 years ago, at the Butler Airport, not even 5 miles from here. It was an awe-inspiring event. We were just like, wow. But the one thing we noticed, we walked in there, and her and I, you know, we're close. And the one thing we noticed that the airport has a lot of hangars, buildings kind of like this, but they hold planes. Every rooftop of every hangar had 3, 4, 5 guys on top of it with
When
guns.
you say guys, snipers? Law enforcement with long guns on top?
Long guns,
Okay.
yes. And even some of them in the sniper position, just scanning everywhere. And my daughter turned to me.
To the point where you got there, you noticed them right away.
Immediately. It was the first thing she said to me. She goes, "Oh my gosh, Dad, look at this." She goes, "I never felt so safe in my life." Those were her exact words.
This is 4 years ago in the rally by the airport.
Correct.
The other airport.
Right.
Okay.
So she didn't come with me this time because she's eight months pregnant, and the heat and everything else, but she really wanted to. So that was so much on our minds there that we talked about it for, I don't know, we just talked about it. We were like so awe-inspired by the, wow. First thing I did when I got here yesterday was I did a complete look around at every rooftop. And I said to myself, that's strange. I don't see one cop, sniper, nothing. I don't see anything.
Not one.
And I just thought, that was kind of weird.
And at what time is this when you're sort of looking around trying to see what you saw 4 years ago?
It's probably about, well, 4 years ago, we noticed that.
Today, I mean, or yesterday. What time was that when you started looking?
Probably about 2 hours before he came on stage.
Okay.
But I didn't stop looking because it's something that was in my mind because of it was so noticeable back then. But it was also just as noticeable not being that way.
And then did you notice, because on that barn right there, that's where the law enforcement snipers were that engaged with the alleged assassin. Did you notice them?
I did not. I noticed nobody because I scanned every roof. And I just thought it was strange because when they show the Google Maps looking down, it really doesn't give the entire picture of the area because right beyond that, there's all kinds of buildings. And that's why I looked around because...
You're saying there's a lot of high points. If somebody was on another roof and wanted to fire towards the
right
president.
across 68 right here,
Yeah.
there's a big sports complex that has a high roof. I knew the AGR building because I know of it.
That's where the assassin was planted on top
Correct. I was going to park there because I know a lot of people coming from that, they don't know the area. And I'm thinking that would be a great place to park. It's close. It's real close. I could park right there. I'd be out quick because it's right off the main road.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So
we're going to park there, and then you decided not
yeah,
to.
but I decided not to because there was so much traffic on this main road that I couldn't get to it. So I
couldn't get to it. Do you even drive by? Did you see it?
I drive by it every day.
It's easy because I drove by it as well. It's easy to walk into, essentially. Like if you were to drive over there, you could walk right into it.
Well, that's why I was going to park there because I knew that. But I decided not to, only because the traffic was so bad that it would have taken me an hour to get to it. Yeah. So I just parked further down and walked in. But it was I still can't process it. I think that's why I came back here today because I wanted to look at the where I was at and say, how lucky are? I mean, somebody died. That's a shame, but I still can't. I mean, last night I was up all night. I don't even think I slept well, thinking.
Yeah, I bet.
I just can't believe it. I'm just
You
still
couldn't believe
shocked.
what you saw.
I can't believe why.
All right.
I think the big
we
thing
can
is
stop
the
here,
why.
Brian. The main thing I wanted to talk about here is I think it was like 2009. My dad took me to the All-Star game in St. Louis, and it was the MLB All-Star game. And that day, the surprise guest throwing out the first pitch ended up being Barack Obama.
All right.
So unbeknownst to, the event goers who probably would have tried to get there sooner, it literally took like 2.5 hours to get in that baseball stadium. I mean, security was insanely in depth to a degree. I hadn't seen it before, and I really hadn't seen it since. And the coolest part about the experience, ironically, exactly how this guy experienced it. My dad and I spent half that baseball game just looking into the city skyline. Sniper, 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 sniper. There are stupid, drunk college kids at your alma mater, Ohio State, that have more sniper power around the horseshoe than the damn president had. Make that make sense. There is no sense to it. So if anytime you've been around a president, that's been the total experience. This guy, the last time he saw Trump, that was the total experience. You go to an Ohio State game where it's just dumb college kids, that's the total experience. I then am left asking you, why is that not the experience in this one instance when there just so happened to be a sincere need for it? Is it because you knew there was a need for it and you wanted to capitalize on the opportunity, or was it truly just a fluke of mishandling the event?
Well, and so the guy mentions last time Trump was there, and I think it was when he was president.
Yes, sir.
He did a bunch of rallies. He was president. So when you're president, you just have more security inherently. And then when you're no longer, even when you're president-elect and when you're former president, you're not going to have the same amount of security. So I don't think
even if you're running for president and never become president, you're just Al Gore.
Well,
you get a lot.
You get some. Well, I mean, a lot is relative.
Amount doesn't matter. You get some.
You get some, and he had some, and he even stated in the video too. It's like, well, did you the interviewer asked, hey, did you see the guys on the roof? No, I didn't actually see that. And I looked at all the roofs. Well, okay, were you missing somebody? Now we only know of those guys on the roof because we could see it in video.
Right.
I don't think there's anything on the water tower. She probably at this point would have heard about it. And obviously there weren't anyone on the roof that was where the shooter was. Okay. So at least we know there's some there. I think it stands to reason there's going to be others around. Maybe they're on ground level. Maybe they're just not on the same elevation. So, but also I don't think I still think it's an apple and oranges comparison with it, being the president of the United States, you get that amount, and then versus not, you just don't get the same amount. And I wonder how much that comes with like the actual candidate themselves. How much Secret Service do they actually want? And, is Trump the kind of guy who just wants, whatever?
I think Trump needs security. Trump wants security.
I think he needs security, but how much does he really want it? So that's just more people he's got to like deal with. And does he?
I think if you catch him beside his tee box at Mar-a-Lago, he's going to be giving you full attention, totally friendly. I think outside of a reserve situation where you are lucky to be here because you're a VIP in some sense, like you got to, wherever I'm at, if you got to like a secure place, I'm sure he's nothing but friendly. I think on the flip side, he looks at the masses as just like gnats.
Yep.
And like, I think he heavily relies on security because that's his wall between being bombarded. It's like Michael Jackson. Remember those old days of Michael Jackson where like he'd get in a limo and it's just I think Trump is like, I need the most security because I need to just get places untouched and like he just wants to smoothly get in and out of places. I don't think he's afraid, or I think he would be like, I don't need it. But I think he does look at the plebes as like, I need somebody to keep them away.
Yeah. But I think in fairness, there was ground crew there. He had plenty of people to be able to surround him.
We saw them hiding behind the speaker.
They were hiding. They were ready to jump out at a moment's notice. They're hiding from the other people, not from Trump. But he had people there. I just don't think we know the totality of exactly who was on the roof.
And we really shouldn't know, right? Like we wouldn't know.
Exactly. You see the guys very prominently. Okay. Is that a show of force where there's some guys, some built, but also that goes, and put another feather in your hat here. you'd think if there'd be other people around, they'd be able to see the other guy.
Right. You'd
think so.
At least one.
So was there just one sniper on one roof, or was there another sniper pointing just another direction?
But how crazy is it like there's two roofs, one behind him and one across from him, and you only did the one behind him?
Yep.
The other thing you notice is like you think they put a wall of people behind all of these campaign trails to like show support. And like as really it's a deterrence. It's one of those like, don't shoot me because I have a human shield of innocent people. And I think it's a way of deterring this type of action.
Boy, I didn't even think of it like that.
I think they've been doing that since day one to deter people. Like, if you're going to kill me, you're going to kill innocent people. Do you really want to do it? And
interesting.
Yeah, they don't care enough about you. They just care about you enough to use you as a shield. Is it Ricky or someone? Peanut Gallery is looking to jump in. What do we got?
Oh,
so I have literally witnessed Secret Service get ready for Sarah something back in the day when Trump first press secretary, and she came to the hotel. They locked the whole floor down for her. You know what I mean? I see how they roll with two different vehicles. I was in a liquor store and Biden's walking down the street, and he's just walking. There's snipers on every roof, every angle. They got drones going, everything. And once he come across the street from our store, everybody has to be inside. There can't be no one other than Secret Service, like across from the street from him, in front of him. Like they clear the whole block. So for a former president, especially a candidate that's in the lead to win, why don't, like, what's the lag? I think my opinion is Joe did it. I'm sorry. I'm done.
I mean, let's be real. And this has not been acknowledged yet, and it's going to be a heavy piece. You could say all you want, but it does lean more towards the intention and less of a coincidence when, if you're going to say he gets some, not all Secret Service, he doesn't get full protection, but he gets some protection, then I need you to make sense that why the other threat to their plan, RFK Jr., also was stripped of any security when he was legally owed it. And then after this assassination attempt, Joe Biden's like, okay, I'm going to admit I'm wrong. He gets protection now. Like, that doesn't strike a chord with you?
I mean, how serious of a candidate is he? And
he's serious enough. He doesn't have to be serious at all. He could just be playing, kind of like the third Bush boy. But if he's just doing it for funsies, it doesn't matter. His dad and uncle are assassinated. So there seems to be a trend with the last name, the genealogy, I don't know, the history of this family. Some would say that alone is precedence, considering Al Gore got more protection than he ever did.
Well, and I think part of this is the party, because he's not affiliated with any party. So
he was affiliated with the Democrats, but they keep playing games and they're corrupt. So he wants to be a part of the good guy team. They just don't like him because he plays honestly.
So they're going like, no, you're not really. We don't want you as part of our team, so we're not really going to lend you the protection that we would like a Hillary. Well, that's not even a good example. Like probably like an Al Gore is probably a better example. And so they're just going to, I don't care. We just don't care. You're not. You hire your own protection. We'll give you maybe one or two guys, and that's about it. I just don't. Some of this isn't always going to be all fair and equal. You know, in a perfect world, yes, every candidate would have all the security they can possibly need, so there's no political violence. But I think there's only so much Secret Service you're going to get, and I think as we're going to see as we get a little deeper in here, just because you're Secret Service doesn't mean you're quality. And doesn't mean you're on top of your game and you're checking every detail, because you're hoping that every person exactly the same is on top of it. We get a consistency. But I think with any sort of profession, this included, you're gonna have some people that probably riding some coattails or maybe aren't as qualified as maybe they others could be.
Well, it's just so funny you say that, David, because just a few months ago, the Secret Service director said, quote, "We're focusing on hiring more women to be more diverse." But you're going to see here, the female agent couldn't holster her gun. Female agent frankly shouted, what are we doing? Where are we going after the shots? And you're going to see from this video the results of DEI, but I'm going to leave it to a female herself to call it out the way it is. If you could, Brian, can we check out, where's it at? Oh my goodness. I had it all ready for you. I'm sorry, Brian. I totally lost my train of thought. Oh, the Secret Service. We got to go to the agents. Go to video 16. Man, wow. Brain fart.
Call me fucking crazy, but maybe he needs a little more men on his team. Look at these women. This one can't even figure out where to put a fucking gun. And in a minute, you're going to see one that's more concerned. There you go. Her sunglasses.
Second time. There we go.
Yeah, second attempt.
Second attempt, charm.
Get rid of these DEI hires and get us some men to protect him.
So can I defend this for a second?
Please.
So
it's stressful. It's a scary.
Well, okay, all right. So they're
situation.
So they're probably rookies. It's very obvious they're rookies.
Come on now.
Why? Is there no history of this?
Well, you know, they're breaking the glass ceiling in their profession, and also they're not very respected very well because they're in front of the vehicle that could potentially get shot. They are human shields.
Yeah.
In their profession, they're probably low ranks. They're right in front of the vehicle that's going away. You're not coming with us. You're staying right here, and you're standing in front of everyone else in front of the vehicle. Because notice, everyone of importance is behind them. So there's several different layers of Secret Service before you get to. They just so happen to be the front line of Secret Service.
When they had her in front of Trump when they were bringing Trump up from after he fell down, she's like not even tall enough to actually protect the president. Like the guy guards are tall enough that they're covering his whole body, and she's like just below his chin. Like there's still a straight shot to Trump's head.
So when you're oh boy, so in the military they do train that you shoot for center mass. You never shoot for the head because it's too easy, as we've seen, too easy of a target to miss. So you shoot for the chest area. So she's tall enough; she can bear the brunt of that responsibility. In that way, it makes sense. But also, this isn't. When was the last time we've truly seen a assassination attempt kind of in this manner? I think there was that park shooting when they're playing a basketball game, and there's probably a couple other ones where they caught it before it got to this point. But this is
the last one's probably that senator from Arizona that got shot at an event at a grocery store. That's probably the last assassination.
Was he doing kind of like a rally?
It was a she. She was doing like an event at a grocery store, just a meet and greet with her people, and she got shot.
Yeah,
that was probably the last one we had.
And how long ago was that?
Oh God, what, 8 years ago now?
Yeah, so it's been a while. These people, you can only train so much for these types of scenarios until a certain point. When it happens, you're like, whoa, what am I doing? Where do I need to be?
I was almost this close to being above sharing this meme. I saw it earlier. I go, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to stoop that low. But Doug had to say enough trigger points to be like, all right, we could use the laugh. Do you want to see what the wage gap looks like? This is it.
Oh.
Do you want to complain about the wage gap? There it is. There it is.
Oh my
God. I'm sorry. I had to do it. Okay. So maybe you just had some bumbling, fumbling idiots because it's a new world where we are inclusive. Everybody gets a chance. Maybe her daughter's daughter might be good at this, but we got to give them time. Because we don't hire the best for the job. We hire for what's between your legs or melanin or what you chop between your legs. But hey, credentials don't mean anything today. That being said, let's get into the credentials, the nitty-gritty, the failures of the unfettered arm of our government, which are the agencies. Let's take a look at the Secret Service here in video 17.
And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you
pause real quick here, Bri, I want people to notice. As David has indicated throughout the episode, we said we were going to get here. He is lined up. He is in the site. Trump is still talking. Trump hasn't been shot yet. I want you to watch him pick up the nose of the barrel go down, cock, and he goes right in and returns fire. So you could tell he wants to act. He has something lined up. He is not just scanning. He is not just lost in the sauce, just kind of perusing. He is honed in on something, and then he's pulled right back into action after the shots are taken. So let's take a look.
I really see something that said, take a look at what
Picks
happened.
up, bop, 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 and he's in. But let's play that end real quick.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what
Picks
happened.
his head up, right back in it, and returns fire. So it's a peculiar thing.
So there, let me give an explanation.
Yeah.
So I've heard reports that there's a tree kind of in between that spot and where that shooter was. Like there's some sort of tree that's
Yes,
kind of
there is.
blocking a little bit. And when you have, because he's got a pretty serious.
Wait, but to my understanding, because again, we both agree, he returned fire instantly and successfully neutralized the assailant instantly. So that tree point is moot because he obviously isn't obstructed because he returns fire immediately.
Well, so
but doesn't move.
Well, so I think what happened here, because he's got a pretty serious scope. So it's like it'd be like running into this room with binoculars. He's trying to find. I think he had it because he's kind of shuffling. Maybe the timeline's a little bit off on this, but I could easily see where like, I need to actually see where he's at, because sometimes you just need to you need to like widen your scope of vision to understand. Okay, I need to look out, see what's going on. All right, now I can kind of. It's like if I'm aiming for Doug's nose here, and you see, okay, I'm in between his eyes. I just need to go to his nose. That makes a little bit of sense to me. Some of these
It makes
high-powered
sense.
scopes.
And what I will totally give you is there is theoretical logic there. It does make sense. But Brian, you can pull up picture B. This is Jonathan Willis. This is the gentleman as he's honed in on the, I guess, event here. But the thing that I want to point out is the theory is fun to play with. And is it applicable here? Yes, it is a possibility. It is a could be. But now we're sitting here after the fact. We know the guy's name. And he himself, this is like my dad's game he likes to play, right? That's why the title is They Made This Attempt. And he likes to go, well, who's they? You just paint they and who the and there would be whistleblower. You think this many people could keep the secret of going to the moon? All I'm saying is I'm looking at you like, hey, Dad, the dude himself is telling you, I had him in the crosshairs. I was told to stand down, and I've been fired because I returned crossfire after shots were taken. So if that's the case, could you also keep the theory, play in a university all you want in the university classroom, but back in reality, can't we acknowledge that the scene we just experienced also times up exactly with what the firsthand person is saying took place? Like, let's go back to your university classroom. Couldn't you say theoretically it also times up with exactly what the human being is saying they experienced?
Ooh, yeah. So this is probably your most damning piece of evidence that he's not. I don't know if this is standard procedure, but I think we can both assume here that if you're in that position, like that sniper-based position, there is no waiting. There is you act, or you at least you communicate. Hey, I see something fuzzy over here. Is that like a plainclothes cop, or is that
Right.
someone I'm not aware of
Right.
that is potentially here for reasons that are on my side? Okay, but you communicate that, and if he starts firing, you fire back, and then he gets fired. That's your most damning piece of evidence thus far that there is some funny business going on here.
Can I get one last damning piece of evidence?
Okay.
And normally, if you're in a court of law or something, ways to prove your point, ways to prove intention or intent in this situation, you can also look to past experiences, the history, the trends of these actors. I would like to review Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s account of him flat out saying, my dad was shot by the Secret Service. Again, I also want to keep that on balance with something I don't shy away from bringing up all the time on this show. We don't need to go in the nitty-gritty of all the different elements of the JFK situation that's fishy. We have a direct violation of jurisdiction. The Dallas coroner had jurisdiction over the body. The Secret Service throws him against the wall and takes the body. Where is our recourse when the law is flat out broken? So in the JFK situation, the Secret Service broke jurisdiction. We deserve justice and accountability in that situation. I don't care how old they are. You persecuted an 88-year-old Nazi in Cleveland. I don't care how old that Secret Service member is. Accountability does not need to be shied away from. Secondly, then his own father has a similar experience, and this one seems a lot more legitimate. And he's saying names. He's got the receipts. Let's go to it, Brian.
Keep trying to kill you guys. What the fuck is this about?
And my father was brought through the kitchen where he was not scheduled to go. And Sirhan fired 2 shots at my father. The first one hit Paul Schrade in the head. The second one hit a door jamb behind my father, the wooden frame of the door. Then he was grabbed by 6 men, and they pinned him against the steam table, and they took his gun hand, and they pushed it away from my father, pointing the opposite way. He then fired off 6 more shots and emptied the chamber, but exactly the opposite direction of my father, and all of those shots hit people. So we know what happened to every bullet in his gun, but the bullets that killed my father, according to Thomas Noguchi's autopsy report, Thomas Noguchi was the most important coroner in American history. My father was shot 4 times from behind, never from in front. The shots, one of the shots passed harmlessly through his shoulder pad. The other 3, 2 lodged in his back. The other one was right behind his ear. And that in each case, they were contact shots, meaning the barrel of the gun was touching his skin or half an inch from it, and they left carbon tattoos. And they all had an upward angle so that whoever was doing it was standing behind my father and holding the gun, not directly at him like that, but at an angle where you could keep him closer.
So it was almost like...
And the guy who was in that position is a guy called Eugene Thanes Cesar, and he was a security guard who was hired 2 days before. When my...
So again, you say, trust the science. How is this not your CSI science here? We could go to the ballistic, we're taking the ballistic shots, and we're able to tell by the gunpowder and all this. It was the guy behind him, the guy that was the Trojan horse that was said to be on his side. But I'm supposed to not allow this to season my opinion? I don't know. How am I supposed to reconcile this and not use it as credible evidence?
Well, I think first off, he wasn't there. So he's taken some secondhand accounts. He's not
hearsay.
It is hearsay. I mean, it is. Did he say he saw he looked at the autopsy report and yes, I think he has some credibility because he is, his blood relative. So it's a whole thing. But I'm just not necessarily convinced because he does like to play around in some of these circles here. So this isn't, is he acting on his best benefit? I don't know, but these are also 2 different situations here. This is, a targeted kind of bit more, kind of gross assassination versus an actual, hey, we saw this on live television. We could at least piece together some of the institutions, even the JFK shooting. There's video of it. There's at least there's perspective on what's going on, how it's happening. There's a bit more of the story where that's really the only time that story's been told in that way. There's no video evidence of showcasing, oh, hey, here's the video that's happening. Oh, there's some pieces that don't align correctly. So that's I'm just not. I think your other point's a bit more damning.
Okay,
a lot more damning.
I'll take that back. Again, guys, we're throwing a lot of evidence at you, and we need your assistance in parsing through the evidence to get an idea of what truly happened in this. So we've gone through the Secret Service element, and it's not a dead issue, but there's still a lot more evidence to go through. I want to have a little bit more fun now and go through some of the conspiracy stuff that's come up. Of course, everybody's got a different angle. Everybody's got a different claim to what may have occurred. Some of them have picked up on some interesting pieces. First, before I get to the craziest one, I want to get your thoughts on what the heck could be going on in this video. There is a lady that is maybe a row or two behind Trump that is acting, again, in my opinion, against all human instinct in this situation. So, Brian, if you go to video 13, I want you and maybe some of the people in the comments, if you could dive in, try to explain what is going on with this lady.
No, watch this shit, dude. Watch. Watch. She sits down. Yep. Watch this. Puts the sign up.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
Shots go off.
She's completely normal. And then watch.
And then she's got her.
What the fuck? What the fuck? People are freaking out.
And she's filming.
And she's just like right there. She's not even freaking the fuck out. What the fuck?
So, Brian, mute it real quick. Start it again from the front. Look, she's one. It looks like brace yourself. Keep it like she's stoic through this whole thing. She's stoic, doesn't move, barely ducks, and it got her phone ready. Phone's out already. Rest of the people around her go down. She now again. Also acknowledge the guy that has the infamous fist in the air picture. He now owns an island. Like that guy now has a house in Cabo, all bought for the infamous picture
of the year.
So I also get the, hey, maybe I can strike oil here, and I'm in the greatest moment ever. And truthfully, I think in a world where you were in the Coliseum and a bull went crazy, like you ran because also every person didn't have a camera in their hand. Like the instinct of human nature has evolved mildly simply because we have tools and resources that have never existed before. And so Darwinism hasn't sorted them out yet. Like until they have a bullhorn through their throat, like those people still get to thrive and exist. So I also think like we're still working out that Darwinism aspect of like the instinct of our cell phone. I don't know.
Well, she feels like she's probably from the World Star generation. So some shit's going down. Oh, I gotta get that phone out. I better get my shot here. She could also have like 1,000 followers on Twitter or something, and like, oh, all right, this is gonna send me through the roof here if I get that infamous shot. It's a little bit morbid now when if you see like a car accident, or it's just like when people just start freaking out in public, the first thing is like, all right, if you're near it, step back. And all right, now that I get back, let me get my phone out. Let me record this because I need people to show this. That doesn't necessarily surprise me. The one thing I might a little surprised, she's just acting a little odd with the sign up, kind of hiding. Just I don't know what they tell these people behind when you're sitting behind one of these candidates and they're doing their speeches. Like, don't do anything. Just kind of move, kind of like a robot a little bit, so you're not distracting and behind the camera. But it does seem a little odd.
But see, look at the word you use, move like a robot. To me, I think it went viral and caught the attention of most people or the people that have seen it because it feels like the Mark Zuckerberg drinking a cup of water deal. Where it's like, does that mean Mark Zuckerberg's a lizard? No, probably not. But it also shows that he's on the spectrum and just enough to make like common basic human movements seem robotic and goofy.
Or something like when you're on camera, you just act a little bit different. And maybe this is her first time being behind this. So it's like, and then once gunshots start firing, like, okay, now I can act like a normal person. Let me get a phone out. So I could see that. But it's also a little weird when you look at when you see the full video, usually the news broadcasters put out. The crowd behind doesn't really react that much.
Really?
They're not.
They don't.
They're just kind of stand there. It's like, what do I do? They're almost asking like, what should I do? Should I duck?
Kind of like the Secret Service agents asked.
It's weird. That whole part of it. That's when I first saw it. I didn't necessarily think it was an actual shooting. So I thought someone just threw a firecracker off and like, okay, all right. And part of the reason probably because he's just way out there. No one from the stands could actually see him, or they just don't. It's not like someone went to the front row and is getting the jump on him. It's just too far removed. So that whole back crowd just acted weird in that scenario. I don't think there's too much foul play, but
I don't think that one's much of a smoking gun, just a peculiar piece. But one of the things that I really want to at least propose and throw out to the gate. Wait, Silent, you got something?
I have a theory. She might be a person that frequents the range a lot, or she's a veteran.
Oh,
that's probably why she was very stoic to the shot, right? Or she's a person that goes to the range like very frequently, and I think that's probably why she couldn't react, or panic. Probably because she's so used to hearing gunshots. That's one of my theories, at least. Who knows, though?
I could respect that. That seems like a pretty plausible reasoning.
She is at a Trump rally, right? So usually most people that support Trump love their guns. So you know what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, it checks out. It checks out. But here's one that I want to get everybody's thoughts on, because this is where you might lose some of the mainstream types of personalities, but also all investigations are worth taking on.
Yep.
So there is a theory floating around that there were two shooters, and that comes back to, Brian, if you could throw out picture A, this comes back to that water tower discussion where people have had a lot of discussions that there was somebody at the water tower, that there's potentially two angles of shots. That would make why some of those angles, we were talking about the people behind them, why some of those might make a little bit more sense if they're coming from twice the height and from a different angle. But then also, again, it goes back to that interview we saw. It's very difficult for people to really make sense of the pandemonium. In the Las Vegas shooting, people thought there were multiple shooters from all over. We still really don't know the truths of that. But even here, it's hard to make sense of it when you really can't even make sense of 2 feet next to you, let alone 2 football fields away. But in the spirit of wanting to investigate some of the other experiences or theories, maybe there's a potential second shooter. This is something the internet has latched onto and, crying for explanations. Why did the news report Maxwell Yurick as the original shooter? That was the original name that they put out. And he's got the jacked up lip, inside out face that looks a lot more like the images we saw than this guy. And that explains why every time I keep seeing these videos, like the first video we saw of Thomas Matthew Crooks, like him in his car, doesn't even really look like the same guy we're seeing on the news and everything else. He goes, I'm Thomas Matthew Crooks and I'm the bad guy. And then we're seeing all the pictures of the guy on the news and they don't look different, but they also don't look the same. Yeah. Here's an interesting tie. Somebody dug up from that Maxwell Yurick. He's a local to the Pennsylvania area. He was also into the computer science and created his own crypto called Shooter Coin. And guess who owned the most Shooter Coin?
Was it
Thomas Matthew Crooks? So some might believe that they might know each other or there might be some tie between these folks. That being said, Brian, can you go to video 12? Here's somebody's account of the potential possibility of two shooters.
All right, I just watched this on Fox News, and I'm disgusted. I love Fox, but this is ridiculous. This is horrible reporting. They're trying to scoop it under the rug. This woman's about to tell you there were multiple shooters, and this reporter just blatantly throws it under the rug like she didn't even hear it. Listen to this woman.
President Trump down, Secret Service did, and they took him out of there and got him off of the stage.
Listen to this.
And he was bleeding. And so then my son and daughter-in-law was back
Come on, get to the point.
us, back behind the fence. And we was worried about them. We couldn't call them. And so we started trying to go after them then when they finally let us up. And they had been right by the fence where the other shooter was. There was one I heard in the water tower. There was one by the fence.
And still, obviously,
multiple
reports,
shooters.
But what we do know, according to the AP, this
Damn.
is a bill from the Butler County District
Come on.
Attorney's Office saying the shooter dead and a
That's a
rally
murder
attendant
attempt.
killed. So this is
That's a
also
CIA thing right there.
But to hear those numerous pop.
It is peculiar how she talks, like tries to redirect the conversation and talks right through the point. If you are if you're not a if you have not internalized the fact that you are a propaganda piece and you actually believe you're an investigative journalist, why wouldn't a second angle to this whole thing grab your attention? Like, why wouldn't you also want to wait? So you're saying because you're not in the investigative vein, you are in the preaching propaganda vein. Am I wrong?
I mean, I don't know. She's probably not, because we got to remember this is moments, minutes, maybe an hour or so after the event. So you're still internalizing it. You're still kind of thinking, all right, well, what do we know? What do we know? Because this was major news. This isn't someone on TikTok or Twitter who's throwing things out there, or at least kind of doing a bit more of the actual, kind of investigative part of the journalism. She's doing just more interviews. So she says that, maybe I don't. Well, there was 2 shooters. The guy that shot back. So I mean, you're not, there was.
I'll give you that.
So, but was there 2 active
3,
shooters?
damn it.
But maybe in that point she took a snap judgment, like, maybe let's not stoke the flames here. Let's let her talk, let her say her thing, and then kind of keep moving that conversation. I could see that, but you're not necessarily seeing a whole lot of actual, like, oh, there's 2 shooters. You're not seeing that. That's not in the main lexicon yet. Now there could be, hey, that water tower piece, there could be another evidence piece, like, oh, hey, there was actually someone up there, and because he failed here or something like that. It's hard to say. But right now, I'm not seeing the evidence outside of, I guess, that one piece that there was more than one nefarious figure going on in the background or foreground, I guess.
2 things here. One, the next video is another and final kind of conspiracy that I'd like to investigate with the group.
All right.
But this one's a lot less Illuminati 4D chess and a lot more spiritual war. The second thing, before we go to that video, I'm talking to you, the audience member. The main piece here is everybody in the studio and the guys joining us remotely, everybody's been made aware of one thing that I proposed to our viewers. And that is, if we get to 200 viewers watching at a single time, totally, we are all eating Carolina Reaper gummy bears. Now, we have way too much to parse apart in this episode. So I'm leaving it up to you, the viewer. They are going to try for an opportunity to leave this without pain. And I am going to say this. I want to complete this thought. So if we have over 2, we're sticking to the rule. And if there's 200 people on that thing as we close this out, we are ending the episode with eating those Carolina Reaper gummy bears. Doug, I hear you being soft over there. You got to just take a bite. We'll eat the gummy bear, but you got to take, you don't get to pride yourself on being a fan favorite and not eat one of the gummy bears.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And the number keeps going up, guys. So as long as there's 200 on there, we're ending this episode with the Carolina Reaper. But I want to get to this conspiracy theory. Yeah, things are getting fire in here. This gentleman. So here's a video. The video is, and the folks on YouTube can find it. Discovery Ministries, which has 381,000 subscribers, posted a video March 14th, 2024. 3 months ago, this prophet has a dream and makes one of the wildest predictions ever. Now, just understand the timeline of life. This video was posted 3 months ago. Brian, can you please play video 14? This is insane.
America all throughout, and I saw Trump rising up, and then I saw an attempt on his life. This bullet flew by his ear, and it came so close to his head that it busted his eardrum. And I saw he fell to his knees during this time frame, and he started worshiping the Lord. He got radically born again during this time frame. I'm talking, people say he's saved now, but he becomes really on fire for Jesus, for what I saw coming. And then I saw people interceding when I saw him winning the presidency through great. The Lord showed me it would go clear into the summer. Great persecution would come on him through the judges and through the law and all these people trying to sue him and all this stuff. But there would be a stop to it, and things would start to break free come toward the fall. And then I saw him winning the election through the Patriots coming out and voting. And
so, what do you make of this? What do you make of this?
So
lucky.
All right. So this is on what, April 8th, right before
March 14th.
March 14th. So he was being indicted for charges. So I'm not buying that piece. Like he got away through whatever. Okay. So the big thing, he got shot through the air. Okay.
That's pretty wild.
All right. That's a bold take. Now, we show the one that says, yeah, he got shot through the ear. He wins the election and he becomes saved by Jesus. There's three details he makes a claim. Trump wins the president, or someone wins the presidency. They get shot in the air. Okay. All right. How many of these weirdos are out there that are going, well, he got shot through the hand, he got hit by the bullet, there's...
Wait. Are you going to make the claim that there's like a series of random videos? Somebody said the hand, this one said the crotch, this one said the rumpus, and this guy just happened to be the one that said the ear?
So there's all sorts of profits for these things. It doesn't take too many, it doesn't take a very creative person to just start coming up with scenarios, filming yourself, and then all of a sudden, oh, that one's remotely correct. I'll be a prophet for this one. You could do this for all sorts of different things. It's like the articles you see. Oh, we're about ready to hit a recession. We're almost gonna hit a recession. It's there. It's coming, boys. It's coming. She's coming on fire, and we never quite see it until we get this one guy who's just vague enough. They go, oh. I see you. It's okay. I'm not buying these prophets at all. Remember how many prophets for 2012? They were like cockroaches coming out of the woodwork. And then
the world didn't end.
The world didn't end. What happened to them? Or what? Are we listening to them now? Where are they?
Well, David,
name your favorite prophet
the
from 2012.
Simpsons have proven if you put enough stuff out there, eventually you are correct.
Exactly. Doug, this is the most correct thing you've ever said.
Dang, I thought Doug was going to make the claim that the Simpsons are the prophets.
I mean, they might be. Based on David's logic, they had predicted some stuff, but it also took them 30 years to get their predictions right.
If you wait long enough, eventually your prediction will come right.
That's a great point.
He just so happened to get the timeline. He got it pretty quick instead of later.
It may have taken us a little while to get here, but we're getting here. We've gone through the weeds. But the curious part, and you had guys like Dave Portnoy and a lot of people on the internet calling to the president going, it's hours after your competition has been shot. What is your statement? Make a claim. And, the guy's brain doesn't really work. Cut him a break. And so it took a while. It took a while for his speechwriter to not only get him jacked up on, drugs enough to be awake and have his eyes open, but then also they had to write the darn thing. So there really wasn't much in his statement. It was just a bunch of propaganda lies come together. We don't stand for this, even though we push it every day, calling him a threat and calling him Hitler. But the curious piece or the one little takeaway from the day of what he had to say, I think there was a little bit of a Freudian slip here. David or Brian, if you could play video 19, what was Biden about to say? What do we need to do here, Mr. Joe?
I'm asking every American to recommit, to make America, think about it. What's made America so special?
We need to make America great. Well, we need to get back to a place where we're good again. It's like, dude, I know what you wanted to say. And deep down, can we acknowledge you've made MAGA into being the worst thing ever? It's the symbol of hate and racism. But can we also really agree is if you were to remove a red hat and the symbolism it's become, does the statement make us great again really mean anything beyond like the virtue of our tribe and trying to grow and enhance? So it shouldn't be like I gotcha when your instinct is to make such a basic claim. But when you've made such a basic claim, such a damning tool, then it's going to be like the Leonardo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in we got you. And that's not the game we want to play, right? But also I think a lot of people feel like their hand has been forced. But before we get to Biden had to acknowledge that bullseye point. And before we get to that, I want to acknowledge, we got to have some grounding in like the state of our president. Like what is the state this guy is in? He thinks because Trump getting hit in the head with a bullet will distract us from the big Biden news this week. Biden held a press conference for whatever reason, trying to justify his existence days before this. And can you go to video 20? Some would say this is the biggest mess up.
Now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
What?
President Putin. He's a big President Putin. President Zelensky.
Keep on. Oh yeah. No, I love he goes, wait, no, not President Putin. The guy that's gonna beat President Putin, President Zelensky. It's like, dude, your faculties have left you.
Ooh, that was awful, especially to come off that debate, and we essentially need him to do a backflip to convince the American public that he's okay, he's fine. He just had a bad night. He had a bad night, and then just stood. It's back to back too. It's not even the Freudian slip of the Putin Vice President Trump. Like, oh no,
right. He said that too.
It's both of them back. There's some poor campaign person just going, oh my God, there's nothing I can do. This guy can't help himself.
So then he tweets out days ago, prior to this event, that he needs to put Trump in the bullseye. We need to put Trump in the bullseye. And now we're supposed to expect that man with that capacity to improvise a response to a tweet an intern typed. He didn't even type it. He's like, wait, I said what?
He doesn't even know what X or Twitter is.
Yo.
How he calls it Tweeter.
Tweeter. What's up, Ricky?
At this rate, he's just gonna come and spill the beans. Like, yep, I had them did it.
Yeah, right. Which might be a blessing in disguise, honestly. So, Brian, if you could, we want to look at video 21. This is Biden addressing his statements considering bullseye.
Let's talk about the conversation this has started, and it's really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there's very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. There's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said, I want to be a dictator.
He does look a little surprised they did say that.
Refused to accept the
Bullseye.
outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said
that didn't sound right.
Accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus was on what he's saying, and the idea.
But have you taken a step back and done a little soul searching on things that you may have said that could incite people who are not balanced?
Well, I don't think, look, how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody? Look, I have not engaged in that rhetoric. Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses.
His eyes.
About how he's going to forgive all
It just has that orange glow to it, an unnatural orange glow. Soul searching.
Were arrested and sentenced to go
and
to
the dementia
jail
hands.
In the Capitol.
What do I do? It's like Ricky Bobby. What do I do with my hands? Even like just move them a little bit. Like nope, just hand gesture. Stay. Okay.
Okay. So Brian, I just love them going. Okay. So what? Everybody's pretty pissed. You said put them in the bullseye. What are your thoughts? I didn't say crosshairs. Did I say that? I didn't say crosshairs. I said bullseye. I said
come on, man.
I said bullseye. I didn't say crosshairs. And that's not the spirit of the point. You actually didn't have to say crosshairs. What people are trying to call you out on is the fact that you've perpetuated this hate and you've pushed the message of he's the target, he's the threat, we need to eliminate the threat. I don't want to bore you too much. I could have given you, there is a series of tweets where he only recognizes him as the threat we need to take out, and using that language pushes something specifically and directly. And so again, if the bumbling idiots on January 6th that were liaisoned by the police into the FBI show that they put on in the Capitol, and Trump's responsible for that, then the series of tweets, Brian, actually, if we could, go to video 26. Here's just all the evil Dems and the narratives that they've pushed, and tell me this doesn't coerce a reaction in the public.
Be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
Feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school. If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. No, I wish we were in high school, I could take him behind the gym.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please get up in the face of some Congress people.
People will do what they do.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
We're going to go in there, we're going to...
This is just a warning to you Trumpers. Be careful. Walk lightly. And for those of you who are soldiers, make them pay.
If you had to be stuck in an elevator with either President Trump, Mike Pence, or Jeff Sessions, who would it be? Does one of us have to come out alive?
Remember when you used to make a comment and the Secret Service would investigate you?
Right.
They really are dropping the ball here. I mean, that's what, 10, 20 clips of proof that people are calling for harm to a president? Right. I mean, are they investigating these? Of course not.
No, of course not.
Because they're political opponents.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, holding up a bloody head of the president and then the world holding you accountable allows you to go on a victim campaign trail for the rest of your career, because nobody's ever buying a ticket to your shitty comedy show. But at least you get to play victim, because accountability hurts. It's just not fun. But this is the takeaway with the Biden and all of this is you don't get to push this for 8 years. And there was a wedge, and I'm not even going to say you created that wedge or are at fault for the wedge's existence, but you can't spend 8 years of driving that wedge deeper and deeper with no effort of cooperation, lending to the other side. This has been a decade of not being able to share Thanksgiving with our families because they voted for the other side that I hate, or I can't stand their thoughts on X or Y. And that never used to be the case until recently. And we need to start asking, who's at fault for that? Who do we need to hold accountable for that? So we've gone through the Biden stuff. I think this is a perfect segue to accountability itself. Brian, can you go to picture F? Destiny is an internet personality that takes the opposite side that I normally would. He's a staunch liberal, and I never agree with him. Honestly, a lot of his opinions aggravate me, but I've had sincere respect for the guy because he does a strong job of defending his position. I never agree with it, but I at least walk away with an understanding. I now find his entire existence repulsive. First, it starts with this tweet. A person in a crowd cheering for and supporting a traitor to this country caught astray? I'm so sad. Please. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
But do you really want to make your stomach turn? Can you go to video 27? This is Destiny right out of his mouth.
Fuck it. Fuck the dude. The firefighter guy, fuck Trump, fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay, just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine, and you end up, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am 100%.
These are the people we're talking about. These are the people we're talking about. Yeah. That's a firefighter for your local community. That's also in the same frame an internet troll that adds nothing beyond commentary. And he's glad he caught the stray. Those are the people you want to give your money to. You got to know the enemy we're dealing with and look into its eyes.
It's disgusting. I could at least, oh boy, this is going to be a controversial statement right here. I can at least sympathize with someone who might want to take action against a politician. To at least you can go, well, he did X, Y, and Z policies that kind of made the country worse and ABC aspect. You could at least put 2 and 2 together. But to celebrate someone who caught a stray for supporting a politician and then instead of going, oh my God, this sucks. Boy, damn it. I hate to see it. You don't like it. You feel bad for them because they're wrong place, wrong time. They weren't the target. That person should not have been shot. Shouldn't have been. But then to celebrate that because they politically aligned with him. And it's not just, well, I like his economic policies. Hey, I like the tariffs. I like this, that, and the other. Instead, he's going, he probably has this, every single person who wears a MAGA hat is the same exact person, and they're all revolting in the exact same way. And it's just copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. So you keep going with that rhetoric. Disgusting. And to throw it on Twitter. It's one thing to make maybe a partial joke on like a stream and just kind of roll with it, but it's a tweet. He's out there. He sent that and he went, all right, I'm gonna post that. I want everyone to know that I don't feel bad for someone who was just in the wrong place at the wrong time through no fault of his own.
No, and that's a great analysis. I have one last, celebrity I'd like to address, and it's Tenacious D Spicable. I don't know if you saw, Tenacious D was in Australia following the shooting of Donald Trump, and they were celebrating his buddy Kyle, the other half of the band, Jack Black's buddy. They were celebrating his birthday. Now, I want you to pay close attention not only to the disgusting words that are said on a stage to an audience, but also watch Jack Black. Jack Black, who wants to play the non-victim or the victim here and had no part in this. This is what happened at a Tenacious D concert.
Don't miss Trump next time. Thank you.
Now, notice he just kind of and just rubs it off. Okay, so I'd like to, Brian, if you go to picture K. This is from Senator Babbitt. He calls for the deportation of Tenacious D immediately. Okay, so one, the nation of Australia takes a stand. Get them the hell out of here because we are not going to be responsible for an international event or being in the crosshairs of America because we have their stupid clown propaganda piece saying nonsense in our country. So some of the things he says, Tenacious D should be immediately removed from the country after wishing the assassination of Donald Trump at their Sydney concert, said Senator Ralph Babbitt. He's the United Australia Party Senator for Victoria. Tenacious D member Kyle Grass making the birthday wish. I condemn in the strongest possible way to call political violence by Tenacious D in Sydney on Sunday. He also says to advocate or wish for the assassination of a president is egregious, disgusting, filthy, evil, and not acceptable in any way, shape, or form. So, of course, Jack Black, being the international superstar that he is, I mean, there's tears to Hollywood stardom. Oh, yeah. Jack is at the top of the top. And so to see the blowback, right? He thought, I'm telling you, the guy sitting there probably chuckled at it. He probably thought it was harmless because don't forget, he is the mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. In their recent event that they hosted, Jack Black announced his support for Joe Biden and how great he is. So when Jack Black, I'm sure, experiences this severe blowback by the internet and the public going, this is absolutely BS, he's got to do some damage control. So, Brian, if you could then go to image J, Jack Black has a response. I was blinded by what was said at the show on Sunday. I would never condone hate speech or encourage political violence in any form. After much reflection, I no longer feel it is appropriate to continue the tenacious, despicable tour, and all future creative plans are on hold. I am grateful to the fans for their support and understanding. To me, this isn't sincere. This is damage control, because this didn't come immediately after Kyle said some bullshit. This didn't come prior to a senator of the country you in calling for your deportation. No, this came after it all. After accountability was here and forcing you to lie in the bed that you made, now you want to ask for forgiveness. Now you want to create that distance and separation. It wasn't me, it was Kyle. And we're going to postpone the tour. Why? So we can let you all have goldfish syndrome. So we're going to wait for you to see the next flashy thing and forget about all of this. And then we'll come to your local concert and we'll know that you'll sell out.
Yeah, the tweet reads as if it was just after the show. But I mean, you can timestamp these things. It's one thing. I get it. I give him some credit. An hour after the show, ooh, heat of the moment. We thought it was funny, or at least just say that. Just acknowledge. Hey, I thought this was funny at the time. Now that I know once accountability is looking straight in the face, and you go, ooh, I don't like that. I don't like that. I need to backpedal. Yeah, that doesn't. It loses all earnesty. It loses any point of sympathy, because in the heat of the moment, we probably said some garbage things
on here for sure.
So, but I think the difference is you can just either acknowledge it or be like, hey, I said it. I'm not the biggest fan of the guy, but I really hope I hope he does miss next time.
But see, here's the scary balance we got to deal with. We got to deal with not only the people with a large audience, a large reach, saying crazy stuff and having an influence, but there's a thing that's been said around me a lot, like 4th of July and these dialogues, and it seems to be the biggest theme in this period. The masses are the asses. And not only are our celebrities a conflicting, problematic force, but you see the sheep that they're shepherding, they're also inherently the problem. They've internalized this to a dangerous degree. Brian, if you could go to video 29, the masses are the asses. And here's their logic.
Processed yet what happened on Saturday?
I don't care. He wants people to conceal carry anywhere, anytime. A person who can conceal carry anywhere, anytime can shoot me anywhere, anytime. Because in America, the laws are not built for black people. So anybody walking around here with a gun who felt threatened and who's standing the ground could kill me with a concealed carry. In his policy, he wants people to conceal carry anywhere, anytime. I don't feel sorry for what happened Saturday. I don't. But Democratic voters are the majority. If we go to the ballot, we don't have to use violence. And it wasn't our side, it was his side. So, but if we use ballot and not bullets, we win. We are the majority. If we vote, we win. Yeah.
Ricky, any thoughts?
Not my country. Jamaica believe in guns. We like our guns. Jamaicans love their guns.
Perfect response. Perfect response. Here's the truth. I don't want to use this as something to be indicative of the totality of everybody, but it's noteworthy that I thought this would be something uniting. Truthfully, if Joe Biden experienced something similar, is there instincts of human nature to be like, but any person with any sense of humanity is going to ground those feelings very quick. And so I'm not going to say be a god, but also what's scary is how vocal people have become. I mean, this is more in your face divisive than I think anything we've experienced in the past, where that's the contrary to what I anticipated. I would have thought this would have been more uniting. I don't know. What do you have?
I don't know if I quite have seen that yet. I think you're going to have the crazies that come out and say, "Oh, well, I wished it would have happened. I wished it wouldn't have turned his head." You're going to have that. But I think those are fringe people. What I'm seeing right now is everyone just kind of coming to the conclusion that this might have just sealed the election, and this might have just. I'm seeing it even on the far left side of the Reddits, the Twitters. Like, oh, you see, it was when that photo came out, that iconic fist pumping. Oh, fight! There's almost like I think some people had a drop in their stomach. We're like, oh, this is over.
It's over.
You can't outdo that. You can't just my policy's better. This guy, in a way, took a bullet for his country. The next time he's going to go on stage with those two people that are in critical condition, either were or are right now. He's going to hold them up on stage. It's almost like an old WWE. He's going to put the fists up, say, hey, they're just trying to kill us. I am so popular. They're trying to get rid of me. And that just resonates so well. It just seems like every president that's went through an attempted assassination or has been assassinated, history always looks on them better, no matter what happens, no matter what their policies. It always seems to just go. The only one might be like Ronald Reagan might be coming around a little bit.
McKinley, man, he was never assassinated, but he died 30 days in the office because of something stupid. So it's like, yeah, you die in office from assassination, that's different. If you just die in office, no one gives a shit about you.
Exactly. I think it goes to show your I piss people off so much they're trying to get rid of me, so I must be doing something right. It's almost that mindset.
Wait, we do got to acknowledge now. Let's position here because we have done nothing to present this opinion, and it is not a rare opinion online. And it's that there is. So I have two sides to my brain, and they are at odds. I feel like a Democrat right now. There is a illogical inconsistency in my brain, and it's that I've spent every year in this show leading up to this point saying Donald Trump, Hillary, Biden, Obama, Bush, they're all fingers to the same hand. I can't make that argument and then the second he gets shot be like, oh my God, he isn't one. He isn't one and they're all trying to kill him. So if I'm going to sit here and take this crazy Illuminati position that like they're all, marionettes to the big hand, and Shakespeare always tells us that the world is their stage. Why do I find an ability to not apply that logic here? Again, he is best friends with the business mogul, Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon had half the country under a ruse that his wrestling competition was real until he had to admit that it's all staged. And they were able to accomplish that with taped hands with little blades or pin needles in them, and they'd cut their head, and then the wet sweat would make it look a lot worse. The injuries they're facing are real, but they're staged in such a way to make it look worse or make it look more entertaining. If somebody looked at you and said, you have to play the greatest role of all time and you will be God, there's people that would cut their ear. So all he had to do was get down in that huddle with a blade of some kind and slice the top of his ear, and now he is a god. That is something worth discussing. Am I going to present? I think we owe it to the audience and those that are involved that want to investigate that. Yeah. It's worth at least proposing it. And so I ask, what are your thoughts on that being a potential possibility? Because I'm conflicted.
So there's one thing he does. So Trump mentions I think the first tweet he sent out where he said he could feel the bullet rip through his ear. I call garbage, absolute garbage, because it's flying. It's flying so quick, you don't even know it's.
You're right. You would just feel a burn. You'd go from normal to
it's like oh, what's going on? You like feel a rip. He's acting as if it went in slow motion, and then all of a sudden, I'm conscious of the whole thing. I actually saw it come at me like Matrix style. I don't buy that at all. But I think the splitting of the ear might be a better representation than like he actually had someone shoot at him. Just because the margin of error there is so thin, you can't just you could be the best marksman in the world, and there's a lot of different variables that go into just shooting the tip of your ear from even a couple hundred yards away. That's not an easy shot, and there's a lot of risk that goes with that. So maybe he has blanks. Maybe he's shooting some blanks, and that's a little sacrificial lamb. I don't know, because you don't see too much of. All right, we'll put another feather in your cap here. You don't see too much of the actual shooter. You see that one kind of. You see that like vantage point where he's kind of looking like Peter Griffin on the roof. That's it. That's all we see. We don't get any up close. There's no like autopsy shots. That's it. That's all we've so far have seen. So is this really this person? Convenient. They don't have a whole lot of social media.
Convenient. They're dead as always.
Well, again, not a whole lot of presidential assassinators have lived.
Well, Lee Harvey Oswald did, and then they killed him.
Well, they got rid of him
days later with another guy
on
that
camera.
they killed days later.
Camera. So there's.
David, you said assassinator again.
Did I say assassinator again?
Yeah, you said it again. The assassinator.
I feel like I've seen this somewhere.
Are you like Arnold Schwarzenegger or something? Are you trying to channel your inner
I might be
Arnold?
channeling that.
The
That might be where I'm getting that from.
Maybe.
The assassinator.
You got to watch out for the assassinator.
But
Ricky, what do you got to say?
So since y'all bring up movies, this remind me a lot of Shooter. I don't know if y'all remember that movie Shooter with Mark Wahlberg, but this remind me a lot of Shooter. And to Nilette's point, man, if you gonna set your own life up, you better have them shoot over the roof or something. Don't have them shoot nowhere next to you. Like, why would I set this up and have them shoot at me? Like, you know what I mean? Shoot the crowd, shoot into the crowd or something. Don't shoot at me like that.
Shoot another firefighter. Shoot the crowd.
You know,
it's crazy.
But like for you to set it up and put yourself in harm's way, and as David is saying, like anything can go wrong, bro. Like a bee can just sting you at that point, you just go off. You know, like anything can go wrong. Like it doesn't make sense.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
And also, like real people died.
Yeah, right.
That's not a maybe.
That's
okay,
fair.
Maybe you say, hey, he was actually just shooting into the crowd, and this is all a ruse, and this guy's a sacrificial lamb. I think there's that guy, the assassin guy, and someone actually in the crowd carrying the consequences of a political candidate. Ooh, that's a little gross. That's but I'm not seeing it. I can see where someone says that because it's just too perfect. It's just too perfect of a scene. See, just enough to where he can say, I actually did get shot.
But can we acknowledge that goes back to the first video we played, which is the slow-mo of how perfect that head tilt was. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a fluke of millimeters. All right, so we got to start landing this plane. On deck here, I got one little fun little anecdote. Then we're going to get to wrapping thoughts across the board. As we do, for the new people that are joining us, we end normally we do more than one topic, but this was a dense one. As we wrap the topics, everybody will give their closing thoughts. We are on the skin of our teeth. We keep teeter-tottering between 200, 150, 300. So we're going to have this fun little anecdotal video stuff, close the thoughts, and if we wrap this episode with 200 people still joining us, I've got them here. We're going to eat the Carolina Reaper gummy bears. That was law that was set out a while ago. These are stupid big, and I
honestly didn't remember it was 200. So
you can't
this
even
was a bit of a surprise.
But again, we're just teeter-tottering. Right now we're at 180, so we got to somehow pick up 19 people again. But we appreciate you guys joining us. Again, the whole purpose of the live show is to get you involved. So be sure to be diving in the comments like Nilette and the rest to add a little perspective to our dialogue. That being said, is anybody in here aware of the Oakland A's announcer? Is this news to everybody? Oh. She's kind of like a meme on the internet because, Doug picked up on it. Yes, there is a chica who is doing the announcing of the athletics, baseball, and it's not to belittle, we're not getting back to the wage gap dialogue. It's not to say she can't do it. It's to say that the audience member very clearly notices that she hasn't played baseball. Like you've got somebody that isn't a baseball player talking and doing the baseball stuff. So first, I just want to give an example. An example of this being, can you go to video 32? This is just an example of the A's announcer and her goofiness.
Grant Rooker, and he swings and he hits this one out to the middle of the field, and the center fielder jumps and he misses it. And the runner is running, and he runs all the way.
This is the most boring announcing ever.
No enthusiasm.
She like doesn't care at all. Like there's just no enjoyment in her voice at all.
I don't know. I kind of enjoy that.
Favorite color is green.
Yeah,
I like that too. I like that.
Like runner is running.
Hey, she threw it a long ways. At least.
Very high and very far, but sadly it didn't go over the wall because that wall was super tall.
Listen to this part.
China.
I like how she called the monster that wall. It's called the monster, lady. Get it right, lady. It's called the monster.
He missed that one. Just a bad, unlucky day for him. He couldn't jump 18 feet in the air like my grandfather could.
Couldn't jump 18.
What
the hell? What are we paying these people for?
Here's the pitch. This one
Like my grandfather.
The A's getting ahead early once again. Let's see if they can add on.
This has to be a bit. There's no way.
Dude,
this
you
is...
think it was a bit, but it hasn't ended. She still has her job, and these just continue to go viral. That's just one little minute example of the everyday experience it is to be an Oakland Athletics fan. Mind you, the team is leaving you this season. So talk about salt in the wound. Your team is leaving you. You already hate your situation. And then you give you this broad that's just like, he's running and he's running and he's running.
It makes me really love the Guardians announcer. I mean, God, do I love our announcer after hearing that.
So what's great is, how does an announcer like this react when something so major happens during an athletics game? What great commentary could she bring us? Brian, could you go to video 32 here of the A's announcer?
30. We had just played 32.
33. I'm sorry.
33?
Thank you.
News out of the world today. Donald Trump got shot. And Castellanos swings.
Donald Trump got shot.
And I'm an A's announcer, but I'm mad. He just did that again. Nick Castellanos, the bearer of bad news, always does something that something bad happens. Man,
Could this be a stunt by the A's to get?
Yo, there is something to this.
Go to Vegas. There has to be something behind this.
There's something to this. It's as Silent just said, there is something to this. Like, 'cause it's not bad. Like, it's just like dry, kind of like there's something to this. It's got to be like a bit.
It's not bad. It's just not good. It's
facts, but
you know what
it goes.
Like when
she's not taking it seriously.
Over the barbecue cookout, and you explain baseball to her for like 30 minutes, and then she starts
Nobody knows
to
what you're talking
commentate as she drinks wine. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it feels like, you know.
No, here. Let's finish the clip here, though.
Nick Castellanos just did the unthinkable. The same day this happens, Nick Castellanos hits a home run. Prayers out for everybody. Those Phillies helmets are really cool, but dude,
the helmets are really
how
cute.
does he even do this? Like, he's playing a baseball game. He doesn't have any source to information outside of the world. And here he is, always doing something on the day something bad happens.
Make it up as she goes. Yes, I kind of appreciate.
Brandon Marsh steps in and
right.
Takes a strike down the middle. Dude, Castellanos, is this guy, like, should he be arrested for this, or?
Unreal. So, a fun little anecdotal way to end the episode. All right, thanks to the guys and gals that have been joining us for this long, extensive episode. We're going to get to wrapping thoughts here. And again, we just need 9 more people, and we're eating these. We keep teeter-tottering. So we're going to give it some time. Help us. Share it, like it, do the things, dangle notification bells. I want to see these guys swarm, eating Carolina Reaper bears. But to my wrapping thought, and then we'll go around the circle here. Brian, I'm going to have 2 pictures involved in my wrapping thought. First, can you go to picture G? This is a tweet by Dominic Izzo. And to me, it kind of speaks to, honestly, an acknowledgement we probably need to take. I would just like to point out that Trump was just shot at, and there have been no riots, no burning cities, no looting, no mass destruction or chaos of any kind anywhere. Time to acknowledge that liberals are 100% the problem in a free society. And we say that because they're not liberal. They've commandeered a term so they get to fight under the veil of good and actually never embody an ounce of good. They're not liberal to a different opinion. Because if they did, they'd be allowed, they wouldn't need to silence it. They would allow it to exist and maybe in the free marketplace of ideas, be able to actually defeat it. Unfortunately, that isn't the approach they take. So in regards to my wrapping thoughts, there is way too much fishy stuff going on. And Brian, you could pull that off because again, we're just going to go to wrapping thoughts here. In regards to this situation, there is way too much fishy stuff for us to pretend that this was just a lone shooter taking on a lone act. I'm sorry. And if we don't start calling it for what it is, the sky is blue, the grass is green, the people in that crowd are not racist, and this was something more than a crazy Pennsylvania kid. Because the truth is, this isn't the first person that's wanted to take out Trump. But what he was the first one to successfully make an attempt. And you got to ask why. How can I go to a baseball game that means nothing, where Obama's just throwing out the first pitch, and all of St. Louis has a person on every rooftop? The Ohio State Buckeyes play, and there's snipers around the whole rooftop. But the water tower that continues to be ignored apparently didn't have any eyeballs, and the building owned by BlackRock didn't apparently have any eyeballs, even though it was the hub headquarters for the police force on scene, and they were all centralized inside the building, but somehow just didn't notice the cat climbing on top of the building. I leave you with this. I'd like to point out that there are people standing around this whole situation pointing it out to no avail. Where was the swiftness? We're seeing guys in military uniforms just lollygagging around. All of the Secret Service women, whether they're DEI or just first breaking the ceiling and need some time, like you put, the truth is they're running around going, where do we go? What do we do? And that either seems way too disorganized for the highest funded military country in the world, or it was conscious, calculated disarray. I only leave one piece, and it's, if you try yelling bomb in an airport, right? Try doing that where there's no president at odds. It's just find how quick you are detained or someone is on you. I experienced firsthand when George Bush was running for the second time. He came to Brecksville High School, and it took like 2.5 hours to get in that building. Now let's just season it with David's opinion, which was he was the acting president, so he had more security. It isn't that Trump didn't have security, he just had less security. Sure. But it took me forever to get in that building, full pat down, super deep. I heard somebody talking about he was in college during that same campaign trail. And his experience was when they were at the university that George Bush was talking at, somebody climbed on a trash can to get a better view. By the time the guy was even 3/4 up, out of nowhere, bodies just emerged out of the woodwork. He was detained in handcuffs and taken away before the guy could even realize what was going on. And yet that swiftness, decade and a half later, goes away. Are we supposed to pretend that we have less training, that there was less conscious effort to security, or could there be more of a calculated layer to this? Brian, can you go for my wrapping point? I want to go to one last picture, and it's from Matt. It's a tweet by Matt Walsh. It's going to be picture L. If you don't want to believe it was just a lone 20-year-old, I leave you with this. Here is the official story so far. A random 20-year-old acting completely alone walked within 150 yards of a presidential campaign rally with a rifle, climbed onto a rooftop in full view of Secret Service snipers, set up his shot, and fired without anyone intervening and with no help from anyone. This 20-year-old is also so politically radical as to attempt an assassination, and yet not radical enough to have ever posted any political writings or commentary on any social media site ever in his life. He also wrote no manifesto and left behind no indication about why he did it. His last and only political act before attempting to kill the Republican candidate was to register as a Republican? You must believe this and ask no questions about it, or else you are a conspiracy theorist. And one thing we know about assassination attempts is that there's never any conspiracy involved. I need to present in strict language how I see this situation and what my theory is. The government is known to seize opportunities. Look at the Boston shooter. Look at January 6th. You see idiots with intention, and it may not have been you entrapped them into making the act. But I think you found people that had the intention and probably wouldn't be able to carry it on their own volition without your assistance. And I'm not saying they supply on the gun like they did Lee Harvey Oswald, or they can supply them the plans and how to access it, or the CIA training again like they did Lee Harvey Oswald. I just am making the claim that they're in all of our DMs. They're in all of our Xbox chats. Because they want to kill Snowden only because he told us that's what they're doing. Hey, I just want you to know they're breaking all of your constitutional rights, and they are violating everything it is to be an American. And they're like, kill this guy. And what he said isn't false, but kill this guy. So now we are given that information and we do nothing with it. It is made common knowledge. They are in all of your chats, all of your dialogues, all of your writings. Just like January 6th, how is it that I knew 5 days ahead of time something was going down that day, but the FBI is going to pretend they didn't? That's a bit peculiar. So I only say that because there's a likelihood they found a guy with intention that really didn't need much mobilizing, just needed direction. And all you needed to do was have some sketchy cat that was a part of his group, part of Shooter Cryptocurrency or whatever, and goes, this is what, hey, Eddie, I know a guy, and assist. You don't even need to fuel him. He's got the motivation. You just got to kind of guide them into doing it. You leave a ladder beside the BlackRock building. You leave the building unattended, and then you direct the sniper that's going, hey, I got the guy. I see a guy and I got the guy. And they're going, stand down, soldier. And it isn't until shots are fired for him to actually intervene. That's how you carry something out. And it is, and that's how they do it. The omniscient they. And who could the omniscient they be as my points continue to be belittled? You don't know who they are. Who are they? What I do know is if every political candidate that comes out and says, the agencies are outside the checks and balances of our government, and they are the dangerous problem, and every guy that has said that gets led through them, then I'm going to start thinking it's them doing it. I'm going to start pointing my fingers at those three-letter agencies. And so when we do find out that it was just all bumbling idiots and females in the Secret Service, that, oh, it was just a fluke, I'm going to start believing it's less of a fluke and more of a coincidence that we wanted to capitalize on. What are your wrapping thoughts?
Well, I think we're looking at a pretty glaring case of incompetency and complacency. Complacency that nothing's going to happen. We're in Trump country. We're in MAGA country. Who's going to really try to shoot us? There's a bit of ego involved too. It's like, no one's really going to try me. We got a sniper over here. We got people looked out the day before. It's fine. We're good. We haven't seen this before. There's no way we can refer back to it because there's been so much turnover. And we've seen this true with Trump's, anyone Trump hires, it seems to be a little bit of chaos, a little bit of turnover until we kind of until it settles itself in. I wouldn't doubt me for a moment that towards the beginning of his beginning of his candidacy for the second term, he's on fire. He's getting sued. He's under investigation. He's like, I need a clean house. I need to go back. I need to get more people in here that are more pro me. With that, with getting new rookies in and with getting people with less experience, he all of a sudden sets himself open for a scenario in which this can happen. There's just isn't, we just haven't seen this type of event. This is the first time in our lifetimes. And the last time it's happened, 80s with Reagan. Really.
So what do you find to be the most likely scenario that we experience?
Some kid thought he could change the world if he just got on a roof and shot him. He didn't have any other. He's just incompetent trying to do that. See, again, ego kills us all. We get to a point where we think, oh, I can do this. I can make that shot. That's not that far. I just need this rifle. The media tells me is great. And I'll do it. I'll get it out there. And then I miss. And now, and then on the other hand, you have the Secret Service. No one's really going to do that. Who's actually who's going to come out at us? Your only damning point is that particular sniper. And I would probably like to see a bit more evidence of him. Hey, I'm interview him coming out there and saying, hey, someone told me to stand down. I think there's a lot of pieces of this puzzle that are still very
if that
foggy.
fact were to be more legitimate in your world, like if you were to accept that fact more, would it change your position on this at all?
A little bit, absolutely. I still wouldn't necessarily think this is the deep state. Is it one person making one judgment call that was wrong? We have that all the time. Just go to any sporting event, go to politics in general. I make one judgment, one call. Ooh, that's not good. I send out one tweet that's a little bit too hairy than I was expecting. One joke that just didn't land. And now all of a sudden my life changed. We could see a stacking of this. Just because there's a few different coincidences doesn't necessarily mean it's a grander conspiracy. I don't doubt there's people within the federal government that probably wish he would just disappear. I think we can both agree on that. And I think many of our audience members could probably agree with that too. However, there's a difference between kind of wishing it and being incompetent and then planning it to go against. We haven't seen the evidence of someone planning and having that intent. We just saw that's one guy shooting at him, and that's the intent, and that's the plan. I'm still of the opinion this is just some weirdo who thought, I'm going to take matters in my own hands and see if I can move this needle. And he failed. And are we the better for it, or are we the worse for it? Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Ricky, what are your wrapping thoughts for us?
I don't think Trumpster has nothing to do with it. You guys both have great points where someone probably did motivate him, like, or it's like a prank, him and the shooter coin guy. Hey, go up here, and he go do at the water tower. But it's fishy. I don't like when stuff happen like this. I don't like listening to people or anything. I like to just wait like 2 weeks because stuff gonna start coming out, pictures and all that. But shit, everything's just been rapid fire, back. Like I never seen it before, and I still think Joey did it.
I can appreciate that.
If Joey didn't do it, like if the president don't have nothing to do with it, the bigger heads probably is like, we don't want him to be the face again with everything going on, as David said, as well.
And again, Ricky, we've watched those figureheads turn on him multiple times. They fabricated, his collusion with Russia and everything else. That's his experience with Comey.
Isn't that what the CIA does? Like, just give you a little nudge to like
that's what they
people
do in
outside.
all the other countries.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, exactly. So yeah.
Silent, what are your rapping thoughts?
I think definitely someone did it. Was trying to send a message.
That's the perspective we needed.
I still think I'm putting on my conspiracy theorist hat here. It's one of the 3-letter agencies. I think they don't want him to run again. But obviously, this message clearly failed. You missed, get better aim, I guess, or something. I don't know. Like, it's like if you're trying to send a message, you kind of failed at sending it because you clearly hired the wrong person. Because if you're going to do it, like, at least do it right. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
but
God.
At the same time, on the other end of the spectrum, I don't think this is a good way to send a message. I think the best way is to actually just go out there and vote. But obviously, realistically, we all know that's also not the best way either, because that can also be, cooked and messed
Silent,
with.
They wouldn't need to put so much effort into manipulating the votes if your votes actually didn't matter. So there is something to your voice is heard. That's why they need to put such an effort into manipulating that. Right, exactly. And I think like it really sucks that there's innocent people that died because of this too. It's pretty awful. And oh yeah, we're getting to the gummies. It's very unfortunate, but I think to add on to what Ricky said, there's going to be more evidence coming out. There's going to be more photos, more videos, more angles. And I think those photos, videos, and angles and evidence that's eventually going to keep coming out is going to paint us a way better, more clear picture, hopefully, of what exactly happened and who exactly did this. I'm sure they'll eventually all be revealed and figured out. I can appreciate that. Dougie, do you have any wrapping thoughts?
The Secret Service is not really Secret Service, so I don't get the name, and clearly they're not good at their job.
That's why you need a Doug for every show. Let me give it to Brian. Poor Brian's been sitting there cooling off this whole episode, running all of the media. This is the most media I've ever thrown at you, Brian. What are your wrapping thoughts?
All I wrote down is B team. I had a whole thing in my head, and I am just like, my palms are sweating thinking about this Carolina Reaper. I have literally no thoughts in my head.
You can filibuster. If you just keep going, it'll eventually you can't end it.
Drop below 200.
If you talk long enough, it'll go below 200.
Just leave. Everyone just go. I don't need,
everyone leave.
I don't need this right now.
Everyone sign off right now.
All right.
Go.
Brian, put the camera on mine.
Yep.
David, come over here. Doug, I'm going to need you. You don't even, just take a bite of it. All of us got to do it.
I don't even want to bite. I'll just smell it.
Get the good camera. I actually look better.
It smells like candy. All right, take your gummy.
What if this is just actually cinnamon?
Blazing Bear, Carolina Reaper. This is what we do for the internet. We got to 300, 400 sooner than I think any of us really thought. And fortunately for Ricky and Silent, they're either in a different state or a different country. Oh, this is a dense gummy. Doug, come a little closer so it's not totally wasted. All right, gang. For misery's sake, it smells sweet and painful. Cheers. Cheers to doing a thing.
I don't even want to eat it.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Harder than I thought.
Dude, this is spicy as shit.
Oh, God.
Oh,
I didn't even actually finish biting through it.
And it's such a mouthful.
Oh, my God. That's so hot. Brian took a huge chunk of his.
And Brian didn't get to bring ice cream this time.
I didn't even actually finish my bite.
This is so painful.
Oh, God.
It's the swallowing part.
Oh, God.
If I can get the head down. Brian's doing the whole. Oh, my God.
You're insane, Brian.
Tune in to the podcast where we go and eat stuff on the M-Berry.
Yes. Episode 100 is coming out in a couple weeks. Brian and I eat the M-Berry where it flips your taste bud and makes sour, sweet, and sweet and sour. It's still in my mouth.
Oh, I don't even like jalapenos.
Oh, my God.
It's not that bad.
Here, you want to eat mine?
No. Brian did that with the one chip challenge too. But see, this is the bad part.
Oh my God.
My heart is racing though.
I'm sweating. I didn't even actually eat
It's when you breathe in to cool down. Guys want Smarties?
I can feel my nose. My tongue burns.
I can feel it in my nose.
Oh my God, I'm in like legitimate pain, and I have no ice cream.
I'm just gonna throw this out.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna go throw this out. I don't even
Yeah, it's the breathing part that's the worst.
When you breathe in, very cold. When you breathe out, it's pain.
Dude, you're right.
You dread breathing out.
All right, let's just end this.
All right, gang. We appreciate you all tuning in. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. We go live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Me and Brian also have a live show every Sunday at 9 a.m. It's a fun palate cleanser, unlike a Carolina Reaper gummy bear, where we just watch funny internet videos and laugh. Dude, on to Rethink Actions. Just search Rethink Actions. Oh my God, Brian. None of the graphics are on the board because I have Brian suffering next to me. If you're looking to find all of our content, it's all in one central place, and it's at our website at www.rethinktechpodcast.com. I'm blanking out, guys. I'm trying to think.
No, thank you.
Let's just end it. Let's go suffer. Oh my God.
All right, Brian. Brian's
I feel bad for y'all boys.
First, can you bring in Ricky so he could tell where the folks where he could find him?
I'm afraid to touch the keyboard.
This keyboard is going to
Brian's
be...
the biggest champion because he ate the whole thing. We all just ate the heads.
I'm so glad I'm not there right now. I'm a Spice Lord and I love Spice, but
Oh my God. Yo, man, just another day TV on YouTube, all platforms, man. Any given day you get something. Man, bless up to everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all. And I experienced watching y'all went through this.
I'm not blowing smoke up your ass.
Hey, your Japanese whiskey over here, Ricky,
What do you
mildly helps.
Oh,
thank you guys so much for having me. I'm glad I'm not in this studio. Find me live every single day at kick.com/sign-the-store. Shout out to everybody in the chat. W's, guys. Appreciate you guys being here.
Guys, we appreciate everybody that joined us on the live show. There was a lot of comments that added perspective. The whole purpose of this episode was to go in an investigation, and you helped us through that inquiry. Do I think we found answers? No, but I think we opened a lot of mysterious doors that keeps you thinking, and that's the whole purpose of the show. Be reminded, if we made you laugh, if we made you think, the best thing you could do to support this show is share this episode. If you liked it, that means someone else you know did too. Holy shit. I'm like talking through a mouthful of spit. If you liked it, that means someone else you did too. This is a free show. We're doing nothing here but having fun. And the best way to support it is share that link around. We're fighting algorithms that don't want you getting this information, that don't want you thinking, that don't want you having fun and expanding your mind. So be sure to share this and send it around. But otherwise, guys, we go live and we go pain every Tuesday. So join us next week. Otherwise, guys, we'll catch you next time. Peace. Oh, my God.